Hello, hello, hello. How are we doing tonight? I hope you guys are having a fantastic week so far. It is Wednesday, and you know what that means. It is time for ActionLab, your premier sports and entertainment talk show on Twitch. Hey, what's up, Bobaruski? Let's go. Thank you for the follow. We are here live. We have a huge show for you tonight. And you might be thinking to yourself, wait a minute. Scotty looks a little differently tonight. Wait, that's not Scotty. That's right. You are correct in your assumptions. We have a special guest tonight, and that is Spees from Spees and the Benchmark, joining us here live on the Action Lab. Guys, if you haven't checked out Spees and the Benchmark show, make sure you do. He is absolutely incredible. Him and Silky absolutely put on an incredible show over there. Just made his comeback. Just made the comeback. And, you know, you're back to doing all the shows, Spees, and it's great to have you back. I'm not going to lie. And I might tell you this story, and, you know, I don't know if I think I shared this a little bit through Twitter. But when I saw that you were going offline, I texted Scotty, and he was like, man, this is kind of sad. Like, we were sad.
You were broken.
We were broken.
Yes.
But you're back. And Spees.
We got a lot of that. Yes.
Welcome
We got a lot of that. No, man, it's great to be here. I appreciate you having me. I feel a little naked tonight. You know, I was sharing with you asked me to be on the show, and honestly, I didn't know if I could swing it because our mixer just died the other day. I mean, just absolutely died. It was horrible. Why do I look like such shit, by the way? And I'm not just talking about my normal look. I'm talking about my video looks terrible next to you. Look at how crisp and clean Chris looks up there in Colorado. And I'm looking like ass down here in Houston. What are we doing here?
I got to figure out, maybe that's...
I feel like you're dragging me here. I feel like this is, you know, this is meant to make me look bad. But hey, I don't need any help in that department. Thank you very much. But yeah, no, we took a bit of a break, a bit of a hiatus after WrestleMania this year. It was entirely my fault. I just very much needed a break myself, and came back for football season. So we've been back for a little over a month now, and it's been a great time. But you know, listen, man, I appreciate the offer to come hang with you tonight. It's always a pleasure to come hang out with the Lab Rats, and it'll be fun tonight. I'll tell you what, it'll be a hell of a lot more fun if my Astros can get it going offensively, and you know, take this game one against the Yankees. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that game is going on as we speak, and I was actually like, you know, so I was a little bummed, right? Because the Rockies obviously didn't make it anywhere because they never do, and then you have my secondary team, the New York Mets, who absolutely all season long crushed it. And then they choked down the stretch, lost the fact that they didn't win the division. So they got that first round wild card and ended up choking that one away. But at least I can kind of root for you guys, right? You got the Astros. We got bases juiced right now
I was gonna say bases loaded right now. They walk Yordan Alvarez, leadoff double by Pena. They walk Yordan Alvarez, which is smart. And then they just walked Bregman. So we've got Kyle Tucker, Mr. 30 homers, 100 RBIs on the season. He needs to come up with a big hit here. Yankees got a home run early off of Justin Verlander, top of the second. The Astros answered in the bottom with, of all people, Martin Maldonado, who, if you don't follow the Astros, Martin Maldonado, one of the great defensive catchers in all of baseball, is quite possibly the worst hitter in Major League Baseball. He is so bad. And we just hit into a fucking double play. God damn it. Anyway, sorry. Excuse my language.
It's okay.
A little disappointed.
Yeah, no, Scotty, your language is a lot cleaner than Scotty's. I'll tell you that sometimes. So yeah, you're good. You're good.
Anyway, so yeah, that was a little bit disappointing, but yeah, listen, it's if there's one thing I can say about the Astros,
if R2 is short for
they've
R2D2,
done so much
is short
in
for
recent
Chewbacca,
years
and ANI is short for
to
Anakin.
bring
What's
so
Luke
much
short for?
excitement to the city,
The
and we've seen them literally do everything, including and not limited to banging on trash cans to try to get an advantage offensively, which was the stupidest thing ever in the history of baseball. And I will acknowledge that ahead of time to anybody in the chat who wants to bring that up. That was completely asinine and one of the stupidest things ever. But listen, it's 6 consecutive years now they're in the ALCS, looking for their 4th American League pennant in 6 years. And they're a juggernaut. And so, you know, we'll see what happens. Go Dodgers in the chat there. I feel bad. Actually, I don't feel bad for Dodgers fans.
For Dodgers fans. No.
But yeah, it's they got to get their act together. What are you going to do?
Well, I'm glad you're joining us here tonight. Give us those insights, because I'm not always up to speed on all the Houston sports outside of, you know, the Texans. Obviously, we'll talk about a little bit of the Texans later on in this show.
Not much to talk about, so yeah.
And then your boys are still rocking and rolling against the Yankees, so we'll keep tabs on that as well. Let me get to the chat here real quick here. So thank you, Moon Princess, for gifting out a sub to Devil Dog. Appreciate that. Got to take care of the mods, right? Take care of your mods. Shop in the chat. Come on, Nuggets. Let's go. We are in the beginning of the NBA season. We're going to have a massive NBA preview for you guys tonight. So make sure you guys stick around. I know we're in the heart of the NFL season, but we got to talk some NBA. We got to get some of that in there. I know you guys will really like some of the things that we got planned for that. What's up, football wife? How are we doing? Reckoning, welcome in. Chairman of the board. Let's go. Let's see. Reckoning. I'd rather the Yankees win because, let's see, Batter and Carpenter. Okay, got it. P3. Thank you for the biddy, by the way. If R2 is short for R2D2, Chewie is short for Chewbacca, and Annie is short for Anakin, what's Luke short for? A stormtrooper. A stormtrooper. He is short for a stormtrooper. He is. What else do we got? Hey, can you take Jeff Albert back? We don't like him in St. Louis. He's like, I'm not touching that one. I'll just leave that alone.
I'll tell you what's beautiful is, every year we get reminded. Any baseball fan will have heard of Yordan Alvarez, the kid that's the DH for the Astros. He's the best left-handed hitter in baseball right now. I mean, it's pretty much unquestionable. The kid is just out of control good. He's only 24 years old, I believe. And the beauty of it was that we acquired Alvarez in a trade with the Los Angeles Dodgers. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, Chris, but the Dodgers were actually the ones who signed Yordan Alvarez. And the way the story goes is, when the trade negotiations were going on for the Dodgers to acquire some bullpen pitching help down the stretch, the Astros asked for Alvarez in return. And the Dodgers said, no, we can't part with such and such Alvarez. And the Astros went, oh, no, not that one. We meant that kid Yordan Alvarez. And the Dodgers went, oh, Yordan. Yeah, you can have that Alvarez, sure. So they gave us Yordan Alvarez for nothing.
Just take him.
They got him for nothing. It was tremendous. That story never gets old.
It never gets old. That's an incredible story, by the way. But like, man, you forget about some of these things, right? Like, it's crazy. Pink Cat, what's going on? Hey guys, would you be able to settle a debate between me and my roommate? Yes, absolutely. It depends on what the
Let's
debate
do
is.
it. That's what we're here for.
I mean, we can do the best we can. Throw the debate out there. I want to know. So here it is. He refuses to eat chicken nuggets if they are not dinosaur or animal shaped. I think he's a serial killer in the making, and he thinks I'm just a stingy hater. Who's right?
You are absolutely correct. Look for large metal bins hidden throughout the house. Maybe check beneath the sheets for any blood stains on the mattresses and such. That is serial killer behavior.
It is.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, you
absolutely 100%.
I would keep a tabs on that and just like take notes of any other weird, suspicious things you see, because you never know. It should be on an episode of X-Files here soon or something. I don't know.
Unless, as Reckoning says, your roommate is 5 years old, at which point I rescind everything that I just said. But if we're talking about a grown-ass man, then this is severely problematic. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, Pink Cat, how old is your... Oh, both 24. Got it. So then...
That's disturbing.
Yeah, I think that's something you should keep an eye on, for sure.
That's very disturbing.
Dino nuggets are bust. Rules in our house, says Parker. Cheers, lads. Love the take. Thank you for popping in and being a part of it. Hope you can stick around for all the other stuff we have coming up. Chairman of the board, double check the freezer for odd looking objects. Yep.
Yes, no question.
That's true. That's true. So,
Chairman, we do thank you. Sorry for I saw it in the chat here. We are very gracious and very grateful for Justin Verlander.
Yes.
We are taking good care of him here in Houston. We got him his ring, and he's going to win another Cy Young this year, and hopefully another World Series. So we appreciate that. Look at Lazy Dumper in the house.
Lazy Dumper, what's up, Lazy? How we doing, buddy? Hope you're doing well, my friend. And yeah, so by the way, we have Spees in the lab tonight. We are super excited for that. We have so much in plan. We have our week 7 mega preview of all the NFL matchups. Well, eight of our favorites, and then maybe a couple others if you guys want to talk about them. We're going to be talking about our best bets. Someone else is putting in best bets in place of Scotty, so he's going to put his bets on the line tonight. It's like that was kind of a wrestling reference. Put it on the line. The championship right here.
We just got the sports bot revealing that the Rockets are doing very Rockets things and losing. Early on in the season, they drop their opener against Atlanta on the road, 117-107.
I want to get your thoughts on the Rockets, by the way.
I have some thoughts on the Rockets
because, and we just a teaser. The over/under for the Rockets is pretty low. But I think they might go over, and they want to get the sweepstakes for that phenomenal player coming out this year. He's going to be the best.
What is that? How do you pronounce that kid's name? He's like the new Antetokounmpo, who nobody can pronounce his name now, and then 2 years from now, everybody will pronounce it because he'll be one of the best players in basketball.
Oh yeah, no, we don't pronounce names very well on this show. But there's actually a name pronunciation counter in here on this as a command, because we just we don't never pronounce things right.
I'm assuming it's a mispronunciation counter.
It's a mispronunciation counter, and it is that's just hold on. I don't even know. Let me pull him up real quick.
It's Victor
Wembanyama. Yep, there you go. Wembanyama.
Whoopsie. That's not too bad.
See,
that's not too bad.
See, Reckoning keeps tabs. So, we've pronounced, since I've set up this counter, 17 names wrong, and we're just going to keep that counter going. We're going to keep going.
We're getting ready to start World Cup, so it's only going to get worse. I don't know if you're going to talk any World Cup on this show.
We will be talking World Cup.
If you are a bad pronouncer of names, hilarity will ensue when you start talking World Cup, because some of those are completely insane. I tried to convince Silky to even marginally entertain World Cup talk, and I didn't even show him the names. I just said the names, and he was still confused. He didn't even look at them on paper and go, what am I reading? It was just me actually saying the names out loud gave him a headache. So anyway, I'll be flying solo for all of our World Cup coverage because Silky has no interest whatsoever.
Let me in on that. Let me in. I'll join you. I'll join you for
there
some
you
World
go.
Cup.
Done.
Let's do it.
Done.
But what's up, fellas? Looks like someone got plastic surgery. Scotty, you look so much better. Ooh. Lazy Dumper. There are reports that some of the Pats coaching, Joe Judge prefers Zappy over Mac Jones. Thoughts? I honestly think the controversy, if I'm them, I like Zappy. I like Zappy. Just me. But that's just my
They're already ready to give up on Mac Jones.
yeah. No,
it's madness. Madness.
And I mean, in a sense, Mac Jones is he's kind of that boring guy that he has like, you know what he's gonna get you. He's never has a high ceiling. I don't think he's gonna have a high ceiling in this league, but he's not gonna be bad either. So it's like, is that enough to win you a championship? I don't know. I mean, we've said it on this show plenty of times. We've said, hot take, Bill Belichick will never make the playoffs for the rest of his career. Hot take.
Wow, that is a hot take. Well, listen, you're talking about a franchise that picked Tom Brady in what, the 5th round or the 6th round?
It was, sixth, I believe.
They're always gonna believe that their guy is the next Tom Brady. It's gonna take that much longer for a quarterback to fail in New England than it will in any other franchise in all of football because they had Tom Brady, who was just sitting there, 6th round pick, kind of a pudgy kid coming out of Michigan. And it just so happened that Drew Bledsoe got hurt. And Brady comes in and wins the Super Bowl and goes on to have the greatest career of any quarterback ever. So, it's going to take more than just a few games from Zappy as a starter when Mac Jones is injured to get Mac Jones out of that gig.
But think about
but
think about it though. You're looking up at the Bills in the division. The Dolphins, they're potentially a quarterback, if you believe in Tua or not, a quarterback away from being really, really good. Their defense is good and their offense is crazy. And you have the Jets, who are all of a sudden starting to turn on their young talent and move
what's
up
going
the
on
charts.
with those guys?
What's happening? We're going to dive into some of these teams and some of these games today. So make sure you stick around. Let me get to the chat one more time, and then we are going to dive into our first story of the night. Reluctantly, we'll dive into this first story of the night. Football wife, I have zero interest in soccer. And Reckoning's like, yeah, golf is your thing. Of course it is. She loves golf. We kid. She only likes football. Reckoning, I don't know soccer, so I can't confirm nor deny pronunciation of names. So you're no help on that. So that we're our mispronunciation counter is gonna take a nice little break, I guess. So that's helpful. Well,
I still can't get over how shitty and pixelated I look on your screen.
I'm trying to figure out.
My camera.
It
can't be my camera.
Give me 1 second. Let me see if I can.
No, it's
fix
totally
something.
fine. This is total vanity on my part.
No.
I'm just trying to figure out if I'm doing something wrong.
No, give me a second. Let me try to adjust something here because
don't worry about it, man. Again, babe, don't you tease me. Come run, Yuli Gurriel! Yes, sir! Woo! 2 for 3 on the night. Astros lead 2-1, baby. Where's my sounder with the applause? I don't have it because my mixer's broken. Let's go, H-Town! Woo! Yes, I love it. You guys look great in 160p, says the Moon Princess. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. All right.
Let's see. Let me get you. I was trying to fix the quality, and for some reason, it's like glitching out on me. So
don't worry about it, man. Like I said, it's just me being difficult. Who gives a shit?
Babe.
We'll blame Babe. Holy shit! How are you, sir?
There's an improvement. Yeah, you went off, and he was like, "Man, this is great." So
love it.
Yeah,
outstanding.
Welcome in, guys. Oh, I know there's a few people coming in from your show. I think so. Welcome in for everyone joining in from the Spees and the Benchmark. Hope you guys are having a fantastic week so far. We are here to get you through. So there's a few things that we always like to get off and make sure that we get covered before we dive in. And that's making sure you guys know how to support the channel. And that's basically just being in the chat and having fun. talking some sports with us. That's the main way we want your support. So make sure you're doing that. That means a lot. You could always support us through bits and subs, and there's links in the chat as well. But mainly, we just want you guys to be here participating and having fun with us, because that's what makes this stream that much more fun. So thank you so much. If you have to leave early, or you know, can't catch the entire show, we will be uploading all of our stuff to our podcast platform. Thank you for the biddies, B-Rock. Appreciate that. 25 bits. Thank you.
Is that Tecmo Bowl? Is that what I'm looking at?
Yeah, bits. 8-bit. Yeah, we try to fuse that all together.
You need Bo Jackson Tecmo Bowl.
Yeah, I know, right?
You need.
What's weird is Bot's Dead Reckoning. Yeah, the bot is like slow too. It might be my connection that's just like kind of a mess. But
don't worry about it. Like I said, it's just me being difficult.
No, I think it's my bot is kind of being delayed too, but what else is new? There's always technical issues with this stuff, but
let me ask you, as a fellow creator, we're just going to ignore the audience for a minute. Just speak creator to creator.
Yes.
Do you get a weird echo in your sounders sometimes? Like, when you get a sound alert, does it just echo for no apparent reason?
I haven't had that, but
okay.
I've had other things happen where you hear your own voice and you have to adjust the sound settings with that too. It's strange, but
I'm just wondering, because I'm beginning to wonder, since my mixer just fried, if maybe it was a mixer issue. So, just again, don't mind us, chat, just having our own discussion here. And by the way, shout out to Reckoning, who said earlier, pixelated spees greater than Scotty. That's in the early running for chat of the chat comment of the night.
Chat comment of the night. See, and Scotty's going to watch this back. He might be, actually, he said he might pop in. I mean, he's out in Las Vegas, so I can't imagine he's going to be taking the time to throw on the stream here just to check this out.
Set another home run. Hold on a second.
Let
me refresh the screen here.
What are we at?
See what we got.
3-1. Looks like.
What? Why is my ESPN not updating? What the fuck, ESPN? Excuse my language.
There it is. There, it's updated. Home run, McCormick. Looks like.
Yes, McCormick, baby. Yes, sir! Astros 3-1.
Let's go.
I love it.
See,
beautiful.
You help me become an Astros fan for a night. You know what I'm saying? It helps me get excited about baseball, because I've been unexcited for a little bit since the Mets got knocked out. So thank you.
Here's the thing. The great thing about the Astros, and even if you're an Astros hater, and I get it. I mean, look, I largely tuned baseball out after the whole Astros debacle, because basically two things happened within a few months of each other. Number one, they lost the World Series to the Nationals in a series where nobody won a fucking home game. I don't know if you remember this, but the Astros lost the first two at home and then swept 3 straight from the Nationals in Washington. So it was basically just, well, are we going to win it in 6 or are we going to win it in 7? And they fucking lost both home games. So that happens, and then the whole trash can debacle happens. But even if you hate the Astros, what you have to love, and you have to love this, is they absolutely own the New York Yankees. They fucking own the Yankees.
They do.
They've thrown 2 no-hitters in Yankee Stadium. They've faced the Yankees 3 times in the playoffs. They've knocked them out all 3 times. It's absolutely beautiful. And New York fans go absolutely apeshit and hate on Jose Altuve, even though the guy that blew the whistle on the Astros about the cheating scandal specifically said, and people who have studied this shit like with a fine-tooth comb have shown that Altuve wanted nothing to do with the trash can banging thing. He would go back and tell them, stop doing that shit. It's distracting me.
Yeah.
They still want to hate Jose Altuve. But again, if you're a fan of any other team, you have to love the fact that the Astros own the Yankees. It's just beautiful. It's beautiful and that's why the World Series losses sting a little bit less when you can knock out the Yankees on the way, because that's always just great to see New York fans wetting their pants because they can't beat the Astros. I love it.
There's a lot of that. I mean, the Yankees were like on top for so long, so people wanted to see them knocked down, and they've been knocked down plenty, at least, especially by the Astros. So it's like, hey, you'll take it. You'll take it.
Absolutely.
All right.
By the way, folks, if you're not following the channel yet and you're a part of my show, I'm kicking you out of the chat the next time you come to follow the channel. All right. It's ridiculous that the Action Lab boys do not have more followers. We won't talk about the fact that they have like 3 times as many subs as us. I don't know how the fuck that happens, but they got to get the followers up. So follow the channel, pitch in, drop those bits, sub to the channel. You know these guys by now. They do what me and Silky do, slightly less as good as we do it, but nonetheless, it's a good thing. And one last thing, Roger. Pull back the curtain here. I told Silky earlier when I was talking to him that I was coming on the show tonight, and I said, so yeah, Chris, mean. My buddy from Action Lab, his co-host is in. Sorry, I'm going to be quiet for the sounder here, even though I can't hear it.
Oh.
Sorry, I saw the little sounder thing come up. I didn't know if there was a sounder going on.
Oh, yeah, no, it's just a quick sound effect, and we got to say something, let's see, something mean about Jack Esterby.
Oh, fuck that guy. Oh, my God. He's such a dumpster fire. Okay, I'm going to get to that in just a minute. But first, so I told Silky, I said, yeah, Chris's partner, he's in Vegas on a golfing trip. And Silky goes, let me guess, this is a white dude, right? Yes, as a matter of fact, Roger. It is a white dude. Yes.
Yeah. That's it. He nailed it. You know? he nailed that on the head.
But Jack Easterby is a guy that came over to Houston from New England, and apparently he is a pastor, and he had some kind of position in New England where it wasn't a football-related position. But somehow he infiltrated the Texans organization and managed to get all the way up to vice president of player personnel, despite having no football experience whatsoever. And the word around the campfire is that he was the guy that was behind shit like trading DeAndre Hopkins for nothing. For just bad move after bad move after bad move. And finally, this last week, the Texans let him go, and there was much rejoicing in Houston. It was great.
So screw that guy. Get him out.
Good riddance. Get him out. Exactly.
Let's get back real quick. Let's say those 3 games in the Sabres. 3 games in, and the Sabres already look way better than they did 75% of last season. They have a winning record for the first time in who knows how long. Moon, hey, I appreciate you sticking with those Sabres. They're going to be better this year. I promise. They'll be good. Let's see.
I like the Sabres as well.
Jazz are going directly at MPJ. He forgot defense is a thing, says Cuban. Also, you said, I think I saw Murray left the game. Is that a thing? If he did, that's not good. That's the opposite of what we want. We'll get to... Okay, cool. So I think we're good there, Mr. Boofus, but Nico Collins looks good. There you go.
He's all right.
He's fine.
He's all right.
Dumpster fire, but they're my dumpster fire. Yeah. I mean, hey, you love them. You love them if you
Own it.
Own it.
Own it.
All right, guys, we're going to dive in. We have one story we're going to get to real quick, and that is recapping Monday Night Football. And let's just say
another one.
Let's ride, baby.
There's been another one. Another losing game for the Denver Broncos. My Denver Broncos are a dumpster fire. And I just don't, at this point, Spees, I don't know what to do, man. I don't know what to do. We have a lot of money tied up in this dude. We have a lot of money and a lot of capital, and we have nothing to show for it. Let's just put it this way. He started out the game. Absolutely, that first drive, absolutely incredible. He went 6 for 6, 102 yards and a touchdown.
Bruh, look at this dude.
Entering Monday, he threw for just 77 yards in total in the first quarter on those attempts this year, early. So it's just he is... I feel like we've been sold a lemon. I feel like we went to the dealership. We wanted to buy a fancy car. They're like, oh, there's a sweet Ferrari that's been used that's in our lot. Cool, let's get it. Spend a bunch of money on it, and it breaks down on the way home. That's how I feel, Spees. And we lost this game. We had 15 yards in the between fourth quarter and the overtime in passing. Back and forth. Ends up being a kicking clinic by a guy who ripped up his hamstring or something. Whatever happened to his leg. I think it was a hamstring injury. What? I just don't know what to do. And then the weird thing is can I get people angry? Can I have some anger in this? You know, Russell Wilson is saying like, "Oh, it's going to get better," and then the coaching staff is, that's on me. That's all on me. I need to be better.
Oh God, we've heard that before.
That only works 2 to 3 times a year, maybe. But when it happens every week, it's like when you're bad at your job. Like you say, "Oh yeah, that one's on me," and then it happens like a day later. It's like, "Yeah, that one's on me too," and then a couple days later, "Oh yeah, that one's on me." At some point, you just are not good at your job. You can't use that excuse. So our coaching staff doesn't know how to run plays effectively, and we don't have a quarterback that can do things effectively. I'm gonna relive some of the nightmare here for you, but I'm looking at the last
like
4 drives of the game for the Denver Broncos. Okay,
you ran 4 plays for 0 yards to take a 16-13 lead. Then you ran 4 plays for 9 yards in the last drive of regulation. 3 plays, 9 yards, first overtime possession. 3 plays, 3 yards, second overtime possession. So if you're scoring at home, that would be a total of 14 plays for a whopping 21 yards in the last 4 drives of the game for the Broncos. That's insane. That's like expansion team bad. It's so unbelievably horrible. And here's the thing about, I'm going to bring the anger on your behalf, Chris, because I'm with you tonight. I'll bring the anger on your behalf. This is an embarrassment by Russell Wilson. It's completely embarrassing. And the thing about him is that we've seen this from him the last several years, only it's been in reverse. He's come out guns blazing, looking like the MVP through about 6 to 8 weeks of the season, and then gone completely in the toilet after that. And now it seems like he's just completely fallen off that cliff, and you don't even get the 6 to 8 weeks of good Russ before you get absolutely awful Russ. He is just not good. He's not good, and there's no reason to think that it's going to get better at this point. His QBR for this past Monday was 34.7. This is the ESPN QBR, which is on a scale of 100. 34.7. That's terrible. That's terrible. I mean, on the season, 35.8 QBR out of 100. And this is a guy that you're paying over $200 million.
Oh, let's be nice.
He's got 5 touchdown passes in 6 games. That's not going to cut it. It's not going to cut it. Not to mention the fact that literally anyone, my 18-year-old kid who weighs about $105 soaking ass wet could go out and complete 60% of his passes in the NFL. Everybody throws for 60% passing nowadays. The guys leading the league throw for 70. Russell Westbrook is completing 58.6% of his passes. We're talking about a guy that is, for his career, one of the most accurate passers of all time. That's what you thought you were getting with Russell Wilson. Yeah, maybe he wasn't going to put up absurd touchdown numbers. He never has. He's never been that guy to go out and throw 45 touchdown passes. He's never been that guy. But he's been ridiculously precise. He's been accurate. He throws a great long ball. I mean, he's one of the reasons that DK Metcalf and those guys in Seattle, Tyler Lockett, were putting up the numbers they were, because that guy could drop it in a bucket from 40 yards away like it was nothing.
You're right.
You're not seeing any of that in Denver, and I have no idea what's going on. And what makes it even worse is it seems like, and I again, our regular show, we're on just quick shameless plug here. We're on Thursdays at 7 for Thursday Night Football watch along. And then our flagship show is Sunday at noon, where we watch NFL
all
Red
day,
Zone.
guys. Go catch Spees in the Benchmark Thursday nights and Sundays all day. There you have the
Sundays.
best-
We're talking Red Zone, so we're watching everything, right?
Watching everything.
I'll be the first to tell you that I haven't watched a lot of games start to finish because we're usually watching Red Zone. That's what we do. But it looks like, and I've seen some bad coaches because I'm a Houston Texans fan.
Yeah.
It looks like the Broncos swung and missed huge with Nathaniel Hackett. It looks like that guy is lost. I mean, they look lost.
And you got to think too, we were praising the GM for all the things that he was doing initially when he came in, and now it's starting to like unravel a little bit for him. I mean, he doesn't have the same resume that he had when, we were like, man, he's making a lot of the best moves for this team. Now we're wasting away a Denver defense that's only allowed going into this game, 6 touchdowns in 6 weeks. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Like any other quarterback, and you have an almost an undefeated team that can actually be competent offensively. This defense, I don't know how there's not division in this locker room at the moment, because the defense is just putting everything out there, and it's just, I just don't know, how this is gonna when you start losing the locker room because there's division on, who's doing what. It's a mess. And this is what we're dealing with. Let me get to the chat here, and then we're going to get things rolling here. So I have to say, I feel sorry for you, Chris, says Dubabe. I think they added a coach just to get Rodgers, and they didn't get Rodgers. And here's the thing. Rodgers is in his own situation, but he's in a shitstorm, and he doesn't have the team that the Broncos would have. Can you imagine Rodgers in this offense and this defense? Oof, that would be a whole different world, man. A whole new world. We don't have that. Russ or Wentz, who would you rather have? Neither. Can I go Brett Rippon or backup?
Yeah. You don't want either one, to be honest with you. But at least Wentz is putting up numbers.
And now he's out, and now he's hurt like he always is. So that's
yeah. There's that.
How are the Texans like a dead Sonic the Hedgehog? No rings. Says Rex.
Exactly right. They've been awful for a long time. I'll give you that. We had a nice run there. We had a nice run with Arian Foster. We had a nice run there with Deshaun, with the Arian Foster, Matt Schaub, Andre Johnson team. Was really
I loved
good.
Andre Johnson.
And unfortunately, they just ran into a fucking buzzsaw, and the Patriots annihilated them twice in the playoffs. And the Patriots are their kryptonite. The Patriots are our daddies. They killed us. And then you had Deshaun for a couple of years there, where, you get into the playoffs. They beat Buffalo with Josh Allen on an amazing comeback by Deshaun. And then in the second round, they go to Kansas City. They're up. I'm going to tell you what it's like being a Texans fan. They're up 24-0 in the first half in Kansas City. And they blew that lead before halftime. Kansas City scored 28 unanswered and took the lead before the half. We blew a 24-point halftime lead before halftime. That's what it's like being a Texans fan. So, listen, bring all the Texans hate you want. We deserve every bit of it. I just, look, with Denver, I know it's Javonte Williams that's out for the season, is it not?
Javonte Williams, we lost Garrett Bowles. Garrett Holds, so he's gone. So we've had, and like, there's another thing. We've had more penalties. Garrett Bowles has not even been in the lineup for holding penalties, and we still lead the league. I think we have like more penalty yards so far in 7 weeks, than we did the entire previous season. Like, it's out of control. There's no discipline on this team. Moon Princess in the chat she's trying to salvage this, and she's redeemed some points to say we need to say one good thing, just one, about Russ.
He's a very devout Christian and a very devout family man, and I have every confidence that he is a superb father He seems like a genuinely good person. He's a genuinely nice guy. I haven't heard anybody talk shit about Russell Wilson. The only thing that I've heard people talk shit about Russell Wilson is that he's like too religious. You know what I mean? That he's too much of a square. If that's the worst thing that people have to say about you, you're a hell of a guy. But if I'm a football fan and my team's giving you over $200 million, I'm going to need more than a nice guy. But he to say something nice about him, I've heard nothing but good things about him as an individual, and there's a lot about him to be admired from what people say about him.
If I have to say one good thing about Russ,
What?
Lazy Duck was like, let's go. Yeah, he liked that. He liked that.
All right then.
If I have to say one good thing about Russ, I don't think.
Bruh, look at this dude.
I don't think
I can. Look at this dude.
Look at this dude. Oh my goodness. I'm not giving up quite yet, but it's getting hard. Yeah, yeah. It's a trap.
It's a trap.
Playing like Pablo Sandoval, Red Sox, he was trash. I don't think you should promote yourself after ripping Chris's heart. No, you can. It's not ripping. You're ripping Denver's. No, this Broncos team is ripping out Denver's hearts. So let's just put it that way. I'm feeling Ty in tomorrow night's game. Thursday Night Football has been absolute trash. Regardless,
garbage. Hot garbage.
Tomorrow's not going to be any better. Tomorrow's going to be rough. I'm telling you. Settle for a game that doesn't put me to sleep. Let's see. What else do we have? Russ equals snake to Seahawks fans. Seahawks fans can't stand him. Even who?
Jeremy fucking Pena, home run Astros, baby. I'm so sorry to interrupt.
Let's go.
The rookie replacing Carlos Correa, who decided to leave for Minnesota to get that bag. And now he's going to opt out and want to come back. Too late, Carlos. We already replaced your ass. Pena is on the cheap. He had over 20 home runs as a rookie. He's 3 for 4 tonight with a dinger.
Give him the home run.
And the Astros lead 4-1.
Give it to him. Anyway,
sorry to interrupt, sir. As you were.
Guys, this is the kind of energy you need in your lives for Thursday night football and Sunday afternoons.
This is literally me all Sunday afternoon, and then Sunday night I spend time drinking, cold ice water to try to calm down my vocal cords.
Immediately.
Thank you for the biddies. The Island of Misfit Toys call. They need the offensive Bronco line back recalled immediately. Yeah, no, there's a lot of issues with just the general offense of this team, and it's trash. It's not a good offense. The defense and even special teams is somewhat carrying this team, but it is what it is, and we're just But going back to what I was saying, yeah, we're not live on Sundays until Sunday Night Football. That means you guys got to be hanging out with Spees. So go give him a follow. Spees in the benchmark. Make sure you're there. Give him some love. And make sure you guys follow their stream because they are bringing you all the content you want all Sunday. Red Zone's the best, by the way. Oh my God. I don't know how
it's a lot of fun.
I don't know how I live without it. Russ needs to run around and just be able to see the field. Can't really run anymore. Not saying Russ is too small, but he just lost the game. But he lost on the game show. Are you taller than a 5th grader? Yeah. He can't see over the line, man. Scotty said that a ton before he got here. He's like, he can't see over the line. He's got to throw the sidelines now. And I'm
Princess, what a very nice thing to say in the chat there. Sorry again to interrupt you. I keep stepping on your toes here, Chris. I apologize.
No, you're good. Go in.
Cheers, everybody. Glad to be here tonight.
Great show. Was able to stop by this past Sunday. It was a riot. See? Yes. There you go.
We always have a good time.
So there you go. That's the recap. The Broncos have the Jets in Denver here. We're going to cover that game here once we get to the Week 7 preview, so don't go anywhere. We're going to cover that along with 7 other games, and then we're going to make sure that you guys have everything you know. And Spees has his picks of the week locks. 4-0. He's gonna just nail these. Hey, Chris, has the Denver Sports TV gotten any better? Heard that it was a hot mess at one point. So it's still kind of a mess. So you're referring to Nuggets and Avalanche, Altitude Radio, and Sports. It has been a mess. They did make some deals with some streaming services, So it's available on some streaming services, but if you have, like, we already have YouTube TV, but then I don't want to pay for another streaming service that has all the same channels for the Nuggets games too. So it's tough because I'm already splitting like with a couple other people, and it's like it's just a cluster. They just need to make it just widespread. Spees, we haven't been able to watch our Colorado Avalanche championship team and our back-to-back MVP Nikola Jokic. We haven't been able to watch either of those two teams for the last 4 seasons.
That happened to us down here too, man. We had the same thing happen where we couldn't watch the Astros or the Rockets, and it was several seasons. Some bullshit, local deal didn't go through, and we had to deal with the same thing. So I feel you, man. We've been there and done that. I feel your pain. That sucks.
It's
That's
terrible.
Absolutely sucks.
So outside of paying an extra, what do we got here?
Chris, if you have Firefox...
Can I say a couple of good things about your Broncos before we get out of here?
Yeah.
Before we move along? Because here's the thing. All is not lost in Denver, okay? It's, first of all...
Hope.
You're 2 games out of the division lead.
Which is wild.
So that's crazy, but it's still there. If you look at where they rank, first of all, the defense is spectacular. They're 3rd in the league right now in terms of yards per game that they're giving up. And if you look at their offensive rankings, nothing is terrible. I mean, they are literally middle of the pack in rushing offense. They're middle of the pack in passing offense. They're middle of the pack in turnover margin, turnover differential, which is something that I pay attention to closely. They're at 0. They got 7 giveaways, 7 takeaways. I mean, it's not like we're talking about, the fucking New Hampshire clown barber school from the blind turning into Alabama all of a sudden. I mean, it's not that kind of a turnaround that's going to be necessary. Just a few things have to change, but it starts at the top, and it starts with Russell Wilson. He came out in that first game of the season and put up some big numbers. Now, I know they lost that game, and it was ugly in a lot of ways, but he came out and looked like the Russell Wilson that you guys were expecting. And since then, it's just been awful. So all is not lost for Denver. I picked this Denver team to make the playoffs. I still think they have a shot. Not a lot has to change. It really just is a matter of them getting over this hump right now. And I really think that it is just a hump that they need to get over. I think that they still have time to turn this thing around. Unfortunately for them, they play in a really tough division that isn't playing like a really tough division right now. But I think by the time the dust settles and the NFC East comes back down to earth, then we're going to be talking about the AFC West as the best division in football like we were before the season started. It's still early. It's only 6 weeks in, so they have time. Like you said, the defense is playing extraordinarily well. I don't think a lot needs to change. Denver's not getting blown out. Okay, it's not like they're just getting their asses kicked week in and week out. They're just playing really shitty football at the worst possible times. And if they can make a few adjustments here and there, I think they still have a chance to make a run. So don't give up on the Broncos yet. It's ugly right now, and it quite frankly is embarrassing how they're playing in stretches. But it can be fixed.
There's hope, guys. There's hope. There we have it. Thanks. See, you made me see. Now I feel better about him a little bit, just a little bit. Destroy on site. What's up? Altitude is trash. Appreciate you coming in. Destroy on site. You are incredible. Thank you for popping in. I still do as well. I do and agree. It's just about consistency offensively. Unlike everyone else, I'm unbothered so far. But what I've seen. Got it. Yeah, and that's fine. And I'm still cautiously optimistic. I'm not quite, but it's fading fast. Rec, if you have Firefox, talk to me. Let's DM Rec. Let's get some Firefox in there. Thank you, Saucy, for the follow, and thank you, Dan the Man 966 for the subscription. Let's go,
Dan. Dan the Man is a fine Englishman from across the pond. who drops into our chat and uses great English phrases that don't nearly get used enough here in the States, like wanker and things like that in the chat. It's always a blast. What's up, Saucy? Good on you for the follow, man. Welcome into the chat, my friend. Who are you rooting for? Who's your football team? Let us know so we can make fun of them like we're making fun of the Broncos.
Yeah, where are you from? Who's your team? Like to get to know you a little bit. Thank you for popping in. We guys, all right, so that's going to put a cap on the Monday Night Football recap. We have Aussies in our chat once in a while where we sink some tins.
Nice.
Is code for crushing beer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we sink tins with the Aussies quite a bit. It's great. We have some international folks in here, Spees. It's great. In your show, our show, we're all over the world.
Love it.
Sinking tins. Saucy. Yeah. Really follow wherever my favorite college player will get drafted. For now, I'm a Titans fan. Until then. Okay. All right. Who's your favorite player? Let us know. All right. We're going to get into next our NBA preview. So we're going to get into NFL week 7. Don't go anywhere, but we wanted this is the first week. We're kicking off the season and we are going to just touch on some teams that we think are going to be interesting, some players, some storylines, some different things. We're going to have some predictions here. And we want to just make sure that you guys have all the information you need to know when it comes to the NBA season kicking off. It kicked off yesterday. We already saw the Lakers go down, so I'll take that. Yes. That. Anytime you see the Lakers go down, now it was to the Golden State Warriors, so I get it. It's kind of like that. I want the Golden State Warriors to kind of, take an L too. You can't have both. But at least the Lakers lost. The problem is the Lakers, we already know they're going to be bad. So it's like, it's just piling it on. It's not as much fun. It's not as much fun.
It's much more fun when they underachieve. Not when they do what we expect them to do,
Yeah.
If they're shitty and we all saw it coming, it's not nearly as much fun.
But it is so great to watch them just continue to crash and burn. But guys, real quick, Discord, ! Discord in the chat. Join our Discord server so you guys can carry on conversations even when we're offline, even when we're doing all these other, games and everything else. We can keep conversations rolling. But Spees, we're going to break down some of these divisions and, there's a lot of interesting things happening. I know you follow some basketball. You got your Houston boys down there. They have a nice...
They got a ways to go.
But they have a nice little team there that they're building some young talent.
Absolutely. They got a good core that they're trying to develop. Some guys I'm behind. Some guys I think would be better off elsewhere, but we'll get to them. So definitely not a threat to do anything this season as I'm looking at the numbers here, and they're currently the worst odds in the NBA to win their division at plus 24,000. Not 2,400, 24,000.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Let's just say it's a long shot, to say the least. So, yeah, it's going to be pretty tough for them. But you know what? We can start with that division. And let's go ahead and start with that division. See, who we like in that. So let's dive in. Here we go. We have let me pull it up here. All right, Southwest Division. So this is the Pelicans, the Spurs, the Mavericks, the Rockets, and the Memphis Grizzlies. So, when I look at these teams, obviously we looked at we'll touch on your Rockets, but when I'm looking at the top of the cream of the crop of this division, you got Dallas, Memphis, and the most interesting team for me is the New Orleans Pelicans with Zion Williamson coming back, right?
Easily, so, yes.
Zion Williamson is kind of the X factor for that team. They have a nice roster. I mean, you have CJ McCollum, you still have Ingram, Brandon Ingram there, and you have, a force of Zion Williamson. So that honestly is one of the most interesting teams. Dallas, we know what we're getting with Luka. You see a lot of Luka down there. Hey! Wags, thank you so much. All your crew walking in like a champion. Let's go, Wags. Thank you so much for the raid. Appreciate that. My name is Chris. This is Spees. We normally have Scott in here, but this is a guest host. Thank you so much for joining and giving us a raid. Hope you had a great stream. Can we get a shout out for Wags? Thank you so much, Wags. Hope you have a great night. Hey, hang out with us. Talk some sports. Scott got the boot. Yeah, we booted him. He's out. He's done.
Got another average white guy taking his place, baby.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for the follow, Fear on the Tide. Thank you. We're doing a little NBA preview right now. We're going to get into week 7 of the NFL very, very soon. So don't go anywhere. We have a lot to talk about. Best bets for the NFL and all our takeaways from the top games of the week. So, but first, we're doing some NBA highlights and talking here. You get a lot of Dallas Mavericks talk down there in Texas as well, because that's the team that has kind of elevated to the top. But Luka, I don't know. Like, I love Luka, what he can do, but you got to build specific pieces around him to make him work.
No question.
I think they've done that, but like, what is Spencer Dinwiddie going to add? Like, is he going to get better? Like, what are they going to do around him? And I guess that's my biggest question with the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah, I mean, they picked up a guy from Houston, Christian Wood, who was the Rockets picked him up. He came over from Detroit and actually put together a couple of good seasons here in Houston. Now, the question becomes, is he a guy that put together good seasons in Houston because they were an awful team and they didn't have a whole lot else going on? Or is he a legitimate threat on a team? He reminds me a little bit of, and he's not this caliber of player by any stretch, but you remember Kevin Love and the kind of numbers that he was putting up in Minnesota, and then all of a sudden, when he went to another team, when he played with LeBron, when he played with. Why am I blanking on where Kevin Love went? Was it Miami? Am I thinking of Miami? I think Kevin Love went to
Cleveland.
Anyway,
Cleveland.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Shit. When he went to Cleveland, I was thinking where he played with LeBron. He wasn't putting up the same kind of numbers, but he was still a solid contributor. I think Christian Wood is going to be that kind of guy. But this is still going to be Luka's team, no question about it. I mean, I'm amazed at what that guy does.
Oh, he's so good.
And to see him do it in the playoffs as well is just completely insane. But I really like the addition of Christian Wood. I think that helps. You mentioned Spencer Dinwiddie. I mean, they've got a couple of other players on there, like, you get your Dorian Finney-Smith. Is it Hardaway Jr.? Isn't he still there? Tim Hardaway Jr., who will occasionally pull a game out of his ass where he shoots lights out and goes nuts. But at the end of the day, it's they need a solid number 2 guy. And I don't know that they have it on this roster right now. And unfortunately for them, the West is deep enough to where you really got to have a better roster top to bottom. That being said, they were just in the Western Conference Finals pretty much with Luka and a bunch of, decent players. The injuries certainly helped to some of the other teams, like, the Grizzlies got hurt, so on and so forth. But who's going to step up and fill that solid number 2 spot for the Mavericks? That's the real question with that team. And, until they get that, because I'm looking here at their team leaders from last season. Points, Luka, 28 a game. Rebounds, Luka, 9 a game. Assists, Luka, 8 a game. Steals, Luka, 1.2 a game. I mean, it's just Luka all the way across the board. Obviously, Porzingis is not there anymore. Jalen Brunson's not there anymore. I think that's a big loss for them. I don't know if Christian Wood is enough to make up for the loss of those 2 guys. We'll see. But, I mean, it really just... Who's going to be that number 2 guy now that Porzingis is gone, now that Jalen Brunson is gone? Is Christian Wood that guy? I guess we'll find out, but I don't know. I don't know if they have enough outside of Luka to make a deep run.
Yeah. I think it's going to be tough for me to like. They're getting a lot of hype, and rightfully so. They made it far last year, and I don't know if the depth is enough for me. And I think there's just a couple other teams that I like a little bit better in the West. But what we got? Clippers, Nuggets, and Clippers are so much better this year. Says Destroy. Dallas is way better this year, but the West is much better. Mavs should be solid, but won't make it to the Western Conference Finals again. I agree with you on there, Destroy on site. I think you're on the right track there. I don't disagree with anything that you said on that. I think they're the Dallas Mavericks are good, not great. They strike me as maybe a 6 seed, 5-6 seed, maybe in that range. I could see them being in that conversation. But honestly, I mean, the Memphis Grizzlies are the favorite to come out of this one from a betting standpoint. So Memphis, I mean, Ja Morant, I mean, that's a nice little core. They play scrappy basketball. I just always
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. They've got a great core with Ja Morant, with Desmond Bane. You know, I mean, they've just got a lot of really solid. I mean, Ja is the superstar.
They got scrappy players.
You've got like 3 or 4 guys on that team that can get you between 15 to 20 points a night. I mean, if you look at their stats for last year, I mean, they had, I think it was 4 guys on that team that it might have even been 5 guys on that team that averaged more than 15 points a game. I mean, they were really solid. And of course, Ja gets hurt, and you know that pretty much derailed their postseason. But that's a really, really, really good ball club. And I'm looking at it now. Yeah, they had 4 guys that averaged at least 16 points a game. Ja Morant, we mentioned, and then you have Desmond Bane, who we also talked about. Dylan Brooks, who's there, who I'm not a Dylan Brooks guy. That guy never met a shot he didn't like. I mean, he just jacks up a ton of shots, but he can score. And you've got Jaren Jackson as well. So, I mean, look, that's Steven Adams in the middle is a guy that'll go out and get you 10 rebounds a night.
Yeah.
That's a really, really solid team. And I have a hard time picking against them, not just in their division, but in the Western Conference. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Memphis win the Western Conference this year and represent the West in the NBA Finals. I think they're that good.
I mean, they have a chance to have one of the best young NBA cores. I mean, they have incredible players that are young. So they're going to be good for a while. And they're not paying a ton of these guys a lot of money between Xavier Tillman and some of these, like, I mean, we all the guys that we were just talked about, like they're in a good spot. So I really like what they got going on. I think they edge this division out over the Mavericks, and I think, you know, they're in a good spot to, you know, have, I mean, they showed what they were last year, and they were incredible. They were in leading the league for a while, top 2-3 team in the league for most of the season. So Spurs and Rockets are in the Wumbayama. Is that his name? Wumbayama? Like the sweepstakes. I think the San Antonio Spurs want him more than Houston does. They're both going to be tanking. I think Houston is that Houston team is the most boring looking roster I've seen on planet Earth. It's absolutely terrible. Like,
well, they have some really exciting players. But as far as like putting a team together, and let's just get this out of the way because nobody gives a shit about Houston when it comes to basketball because they're not going to be very good. But Jalen Green, who they got in the draft last year, was one of the best rookies in basketball last year. Doesn't shoot a high percentage. Look, he's crazy athletic. He's a lot of fun to watch. They just gave an extension to Kevin Porter Jr., who's kind of the wild card, because he's a knucklehead. I mean, he got run out of Cleveland because he's a knucklehead. You remember last year he had a game where he left the team at halftime.
I do.
Just walked out of the fucking arena at halftime. I have not forgiven him for that. You're a professional athlete. I don't care if you're a 21-year-old kid. You know you can't, when you're getting paid millions of dollars, leave at halftime. So thankfully, it's a very team-friendly deal. They can get out of it after a year. It's very incentive-laden. But Kevin Porter Jr., you know, he has these games. He had a game where he had 50 points and 10 assists. He's one of like only a handful of guys to ever do that. But they want to play him at the point. He averaged 6 assists and 3 turnovers. If your point guard has a 2-to-1 assist-to-turnover ratio, that's really bad. And it's just, they're not going to be very good. But the Spurs have a lot of practice at tanking. They did it, and they got Tim Duncan. So I have a feeling that they're going to do it again this year and get this other kid. Spurs are going to be terrible. The Rockets, I think, will be at least entertaining to watch, but they're going to lose a lot of games. They're going to have a lot of great highlights. They're a dunk crazy team. They get dunks all the time, and they have some really nice pieces in place. but they're not going to be there. They are not going to win a lot of games. They've got to get a legitimate point guard, and then they've got to figure out who to pair this young core with. They've still got Eric Gordon on the roster. He's making a ton of money. I'm hoping they trade that contract because, hopefully somebody who's contending and needs a good shooter, a veteran, will take Aaron Gordon off their hands because they need to get rid of that contract. But they need veteran, solid players to pair with this young core that they have. And it's going to take some time. So, yeah, they got a lot of young guys who love to jack up the ball. Alperen Şengün is a guy that's a sleeper. He's a big man who passes the ball.
They got some nice young talent.
Yeah, but they're a long ways away. They're a long ways away.
So who do you got winning this one? The division, Southwest.
Division, give me Memphis all the way. I'm all in on Memphis. Okay. I think they're really, really good. I don't think that the Mavs have enough outside of Luka, and I agree with you. I think one of the most intriguing teams in all of basketball this year is New Orleans. I am a huge Zion fan. I love that guy. He is absolutely phenomenal. But again, I'm gonna go old school. He reminds me of a young Charles Barkley in the way that he plays. Charles came into the league, and people don't remember this about Charles. Was a high flyer. Charles was dunking on everybody. He was blocking shots. He was all over the place. And I remember Charles telling a story about how one of the veterans, and I can't remember who it was, told him, "Listen, young buck, you better stop that, or your career is going to be real short because your knees are going to give before you know it." And if you remember Charles late in his career, he was not a high flyer dunker. He developed a mid-range jump shot. He developed that god-awful backing you down. Like, they changed the rule in basketball because of Charles Barkley, because they would throw it into the post and Charles would take the ball for 20 seconds before shooting a fadeaway jumper. And it was horrible to watch, but he was really good at it. Zion reminds me a lot of a young Charles Barkley that way. Is he going to be the kind of kid that can keep the weight off, because it's been a problem for him? Can he keep the weight off and continue to rely on his athleticism? Or are we going to see him develop into more of a shooter, more of a guy that can get his shot off the dribble, which he's already very good at doing right now? He's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I'm intrigued by the New Orleans team, no question, but I got to give the edge to Memphis. Memphis is my pick of the Southwest.
Love it. Yankees scored, Avs in OT. We got some games coming through here. Overtime alert at the ball, so it looks like Nuggets down 18 in the third. You know what's weird? And this is one of those things. Whenever Nuggets are like high favorites at home, always take the points with the other team. Always. I don't care how good this team is. This is a trend that I have just known. If the Houston Rockets come in and we're 14-point favorites at home, take Houston plus 14. They could, and take the money line. They might win outright. Just saying. That's just how the Nuggets roll. They'll have a good year. They'll be in the top 3, but we'll get to that in a second. Memphis, Dallas, Pelicans, says Destroy on site. He's got that's the order there. But I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be shocked if the Pelicans finish second, or potentially put it together a nice run to be first in that division. But I'm going with you. I'm taking Memphis.
All right.
Go Wolves, says Joker. He loves his Timberwolves. Vontae Davis of basketball, says Reckoning. And then also, I think we were talking about Kevin Porter.
Yeah, he's not a point guard.
No,
he's not a point guard.
So the Nuggets are the Steelers of basketball? Yeah. I guess. I mean, maybe I can make those connections. Maybe. All right. So real quick, now before we dive into our next division, I want to just kind of give you some recaps of like maybe some things you might have missed in the offseason. There was a few big time $200 million club players this offseason. Nikola Jokic, Bradley Beal, Karl Anthony Towns, Devin Booker, and Zach LaVine all hit that $200 million club. Woo, that's a lot of money.
That's insane.
Which of those?
Sorry. Go ahead.
Spees so Jokic, Beal, Towns, Booker, LaVine. Which of those guys do you feel do not garner that $200 million club, like that deserving? I mean, they're all good players, but if you had to be like, yeah, I'm not paying that guy, or which one of those stands out to you the most? Jokic, Beal, Towns, Booker, Levine.
Okay, Jokic, it's a no-brainer. Of course, he deserves the money. No question about that. I would say the same for Karl Anthony Towns. A big man like him that can shoot the ball like he can is just, in this day and age, I mean, that's like gold. As far as the other guys go, I don't have a huge problem with it with Bradley Beal, just because he's unquestionably the face of that team. Can we say that Zach LaVine is unquestionably the face of the Chicago Bulls? I don't think so. I think DeMar DeRozan
is the star of that team.
So how are you paying your number 2 guy $200 million? To me, that's a mistake. And that's not to say that Zach LaVine and people take takes like that and they run with it and they say, well, how could you say that about Zach LaVine? Blah, blah, blah. All I'm saying is that if Zach LaVine was getting that money somewhere else where he's clearly the number 1 guy, that's one thing. But I just, again, take this at face value. How much different is Zach LaVine than DeMar DeRozan? How much different are they?
For me, those two, I mean, you brought DeMar DeRozan in, and he automatically slots in as just a guy that he's the guy. He's the guy. Like, I mean, he's the big name. I mean, you're looking at that. I get Zach LaVine Zach LaVine's dealt with injuries and things along those lines. DeMar DeRozan's always there, always. I mean, we saw how he almost carried this team, put it on his back, and it's just the DeMar DeRozan show. He was putting his name in the MVP candidacy last year, and he had he didn't have any reason being in there with like some of those top names, but people were mentioning his name, and that's just, he's the guy. So the fact that Zach LaVine is a $200 million player for this team, I kind of agree with you. I think, Devin Booker, obviously he's the big name on the Suns. They've made it far. He's earned a lot of what that Supermax extension entails. Bradley Beal's an interesting one in the sense that I feel like he could have, and I don't know why. We always, especially in Denver, this is a bad, and like, bear with me. Denver, we've always had a loyalty problem. And
you talking about the Nuggets?
Yeah. Denver Nuggets have always had a loyalty problem with guys trying to jet out of town. You want to talk about New Orleans?
Who are we talking about? Who are we talking about in Denver that's gotten out of town?
So, I mean, first of all, we've had Carmelo, who, he had his whole contract here, so I get that.
Okay,
yeah. But then, he dips out. Or, we have some bigger names that, have kind of strolled through town that have they just don't stay very long. And there's not that they want to go to a bigger team, bigger franchise.
Bigger market.
Yeah. And I think Bradley Beal, missed an opportunity. Now, as much as I want like the loyal players, I think guys like Bradley Beal, guys like Damian Lillard missed opportunities and got paid. They got paid, but they missed opportunities to maybe go and win a championship. Because is Bradley Beal gonna, on this $200 million contract, gonna win a championship with the Washington Wizards?
Well, here's the thing, though, Chris. Especially with, I think this is true in basketball more so than any other sport, where you can see fortunes change in a basketball franchise much quicker.
True.
Than you can in any other sport, because all it takes is, and this happens all the time, all it takes is that 1 or 2, max contract players, and teams have figured it out now to where they can have multiple max contract players on their team. All it takes is a couple of those guys come into your franchise, or in the case of a Damian Lillard or a Bradley Beal. Imagine Kevin Durant playing with Bradley Beal in Washington. you know, or imagine, you know, I don't know, throw another name out there like a Luka Doncic, you know, playing in another franchise elsewhere with one of the other guys that we mentioned, you know, with Karl Anthony Towns. You know, all of a sudden, you're talking about a team that is competing for a championship and potentially winning a championship. I mean, don't forget, we've seen this with LeBron going to the Lakers and almost immediately winning a championship.
Yep.
We saw it with Kawhi Leonard going to the Raptors and immediately winning a championship. We saw it with Durant when he went over to Golden State. They were already great, but immediately winning a championship. Now, granted, you could just as easily point to other instances where it didn't work, but in a lot of cases, it has worked. We've seen guys go and pair up with other superstars. So, like you said, I'm a big fan of the loyalty thing. Listen, I've been a Houston fan my whole life. And in Houston, the names that you talk about as far as all-time greats in Houston, the first name that always comes up, or should, is Akeem Olajuwon, because he was the first guy to bring a championship to Houston. Yeah, he played one bullshit season with Toronto at the end of his career, but pretty much his entire career with the Rockets. You talk about the Astros, you're talking about the Killer Bees, Craig Biggio, Jeff Bagwell. Both of those guys played their entire careers with the Astros. You know, in football, you're talking about like an Earl Campbell and a Warren Moon, who spent the overwhelming majority of their careers at home with Houston. So, you know, I like these guys sticking where they are, and I don't really feel like, I mean, I understand what you're saying, where they've missed an opportunity to go and pair up with somebody else. By the same token, you could just as easily say, maybe them staying put where they are gives somebody else the opportunity to come and join them. And that's, it happens year after year after year. We see these guys get traded. We see these guys move to new franchises. You know, who would have thought that a guy like a James Harden, who was putting up 37 points a game, just like a season and a half later would be with a different franchise? Or that Kevin Durant would bounce around as much as he has, or LeBron James.
He's a whole nother thing. We had a whole thing on Kevin Durant and how his legacy has been affected. Go check our YouTube page. You can catch that, what we said on him. Jim on Sports, thank you so much for the raid. Let's go. Thank you, Jim, for sending us over some of your folks. Appreciate you. Hope you had a great stream. Let's get a shout out for Jim on Sports. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome to the Action Lab. It is Spees and myself. I'm Chris. We are your hosts for tonight. Scotty's on vacation, so we have Spees sitting in. Go give Spees a follow if you are not doing so already. He is incredible. Him and Silky put on an amazing show. Thank you so much, Jim. Welcome in. We're doing some NBA talk for all you guys who are coming in, and we're going to be getting into some NFL Week 7 breakdowns for some of the top games very, very soon. So don't go anywhere. But I want to get to a couple things in the chat while we're here. And let's see where are we at. So Destroy on Site says Towns does have that like leadership thing that kind of faded in the playoffs last year. He kind of just like disappeared and kind of had that weird attitude. He'll get better. I think he'll be fine. I don't put a lot of weight into that, but if I see that again like this postseason, it maybe is a red flag. I wouldn't be mad at Devin Booker getting 200 million, says Boofus. I would say Levine or Towns, both overpaid. Towns can be guarded by way too many players, be worth 200 million. He is consistent enough. He's not consistent enough. Anthony Edwards is their number one. I would disagree. They had to bring in Gobert to play defense and on bigs. I'm just not seeing that at all, says Destroy.
I don't know. I think Towns is a hell of a player. I mean, again, big men that can stretch the floor are worth their weight in gold in this year in the current NBA. You know, because if you have a guy like Towns, who's a big that can pull one of the other big men away from the basket because he can shoot so well from the outside and create driving opportunities for guys like Anthony Edwards, I think that's, again, to me, that's, I'm looking at it within the context of today's NBA, and within the context of today's NBA, You know this, Chris, being a Denver fan, seeing what Jokic can do stretching the floor.
Oh, yeah.
A big man like Towns who can shoot from deep, who's got a good eye. He's a good passer. That's worth the money. That's worth the money as far as I'm concerned. And just real quickly, just to follow up on what I was saying before, the Bulls are paying DeMar DeRozan $27 million this year. They're paying Zach LaVine $37 million. DeMar gave him 28 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Zach LaVine gave him 24.5 points, 4.5 rebounds, 4.5 assists. It's the same guy. It's essentially the same guy. So why are you giving $200 million to a guy to play the same position as somebody you already have who's one of the best in the game? I don't get it. I don't get it.
It's weird. It's weird. And so, yeah, we'll get to that division here in a quick minute. Quick somber note here. Former number 1 pick in the NFL draft, Charlie Trippy, passed at a century old. Hey, rip. That's it. Hey, he lived a good life. So, hey, big ups there. What's up, boys? Jim on Sports. How are you doing? We're doing fantastic. We are getting through some NBA preview and some NFL Week 7. So thanks for swinging by, Jim. Hope you're having a good night, my friend. Hope your stream went well. Diacola Nuggets, Denver, 25 points for Joker, 8 for Murray, down 11 points. They're closing the gap a little bit. Is Murray he's healthy? He's fine? I saw someone said he left to the locker room. So
somebody said he went back to the locker room.
Unrelated, but I like how Scotty left for vacation after dropping out of top 5s in pick'ems. Oh, coincidence? I think not. I mean, I think there's a correlation there. Just saying. Let's get into the next division here. Let's go into my division, the Denver Nuggets, the Northwest Division. My boys are playing tonight. We're talking a little bit about them, and we got Minnesota. We were just talking about, so it's a perfect segue, right? We're gonna get into the Portland, Oklahoma City, and Utah. Let's just say Utah's a trash team. They're not going anywhere. They've traded literally everyone away. They have a rookie, the youngest head coach in the NBA, so they just have a lot that they need to get built back up, and they just aren't even close to doing anything. They traded away Gobert. They traded away Donovan Mitchell. So all of those, I mean, everybody on that team is gone, and they're starting from scratch. I mean, they have Kelly Olynyk, my fellow. By the way, can I just say Kelly Olynyk has carved out the best situation. Like, is he the longest standing guy? Like, he is always on a team.
He was just on the Rockets not too long ago. He passed through in some deal, in the Harden deal, I think.
I'm like, he's been in the league for 100 years. He's got the best, like, he's got it made. How does, like, you got better guys in the, like, better players that fade out faster than Kelly Olynyk. And Kelly Olynyk, props to Kelly. He's a fellow Zag. But I'm guessing something happened in the baseball game.
Yes, Bader just struck out swinging. Astros 2 outs away from the. What am I doing? I need to turn the game on. I'm sitting here trying to look at stats while I'm talking to you. Yeah, I'll just keep the update here. Astros 2 outs away here.
Almost there. Closing it out. So Nuggets are minus 160 to win this division. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We're not going to waste a lot of time here. Nuggets will win this division. It's
not even close.
It's not even close.
There's nobody. Again, Minnesota's got a good roster. They're a good team. They're a good middle of the pack team. You know, maybe Minnesota sneaks in there to like a 4 or 5 seed, but I kind of doubt it. Like, just off the top of my head, are they going to get ahead of Memphis, the Clippers, the Warriors? They're not better than any of those. The Nuggets. So there's 4 teams right there that they're not going to pass up. So they're in the bottom half of the playoffs in the West. They'll make the playoffs. I think it would be a major disappointment for them if they didn't make the playoffs. But I think they're in that 5 to 7 range at best. And maybe if we see injuries to another team and they tend to fall out, the more I think about it, they're probably closer to like the 7-8 seed like they were last year. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see them in the play-in. But yeah, and Portland's there. Portland's decent enough, but I mean, this should be a cakewalk for your Nuggets, man. I mean, I think they're as heavy a favorite in that division as there is a favorite in any division in basketball. I think they walk away with the Northwest, no question.
Yeah, I think a lot of the other divisions are pretty close, whereas this one, I mean, I think the top team, Denver's minus 160. The next team is plus 155. So realistically, and Minnesota, I think Minnesota's an interesting team. I know we have Joker in the chat. He's a big Minnesota guy. Jim on Sports talking about the Knicks. I'll talk about the Knicks here in a little bit. Brunson with 15. I have some thoughts on Brunson too, but I think he's good. But I just, we'll talk about Brunson here in a little bit. But I think Minnesota is going to be good circumstantially. Different circumstances will help them when they play against teams like we talked about Memphis Grizzlies being a good team. They're a slashing team. They get in the paint. They try to get, those buckets. They can hit threes, but they're a cutting team, moving team, get in the paint, get points. I think that's where Minnesota's going to thrive because they got those two bigs. They got Karl Anthony Towns. They got Rudy Gobert. They got some bigs that can, take care of some of those teams. My problem with Minnesota is when they start playing teams like Golden State, like Denver, Gobert
is a liability, man.
He's a liability.
I mean, Astros win. Let's go.
There you go.
Astros win it, baby. 4-2 over the Yankees in the juice box. Minute Maid. Woo. The Astros are still your daddy's Yankee fans. It's beautiful. 17 strikeouts for this pitching staff. I know New York is coming off an emotional series against Cleveland, but you got to win these home games. It's good for the Astros. Verlander was back on track. A very nice effort. And we'll stop talking baseball now, but it was very good. Listen, but back to my point. Gobert has shown in the playoffs that he is a liability out there on defense because this is not the NBA that I grew up watching in the 90s, where you had the Olajuwons and you had the Ewings and the David Robinsons and the Rick Smiths, and I could go on and on and on about all the great centers that played. You don't have back-to-the-basket centers in basketball anymore, and those are the guys that Rudy Gobert can defend. He can't defend anybody on Golden State. Who the hell is he going to defend out there? And that's where, again, you talk about a guy, fortunately for him, he plays on the same team as this guy, but that's why a guy like a Karl Anthony Towns that can step out and hit a three is so useful, especially against the team that has a guy like a Rudy Gobert, because Gobert can do nothing. And he's making $38 million. It's absurd, the contract that they gave to Rudy Gobert. He's a good defensive player that's going to put up some really good numbers during the regular season, but in the playoffs, he's a liability. You get him in there against really good teams that can stretch the floor, and you can't keep him out there because he's going to get abused. Yeah. No, your Nuggets are going to walk away with this division, no question. It shouldn't even be close.
I think I like their chances, and the Nuggets. We've talked a lot about them. I mean, I've said this is a top 2 to 3 team in the West. If Murray, who Diacola says is still playing, so that's good. I love that. By the way, she also says, Spees, I'm rooting for the Yankees for my father-in-law because he was a big Yankees fan.
That's okay. I mean, it's family. I get it.
Which is it was my grandfather, Diacola's mama bear. So, but he would be rolling in his grave knowing that I'm more of a Mets fan than a Yankees fan. So that's just all things aside. But yeah, so Denver Nuggets, Jokic will win you 47 games by himself. We saw that last year.
Pretty much. And you add Jamal Murray back into the mix.
You add Jamal Murray, you add Michael Porter Jr., who, if all 3 of those guys, plus you have some nice young talent. I love the most underrated moves. We're getting, Bruce Brown and KCP in this mix. And Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. So you have to, those are very under the radar moves for the Denver Nuggets in a sense that they never defended the 3-point line very well. They've always had struggles with that toughness defensively with shooters on the other side of the ball. And this helps them a lot. But they're also offensive pieces where they can make something happen we saw this a lot with Bruce Brown with the Nets last year, cutting to the basket in the playoffs, and Durant was feeding him all night long, and he was just getting point after point after point. And it was just like, okay, we have a little bit of a dynamic that we've never had before, which is why I think the Nuggets have a really good chance to make it really far into this Western Conference playoffs, if not represent the West. Shaq picked us to win the West on TNT last night. Thanks, Shaq. Appreciate that.
There you go.
But yeah, so I mean, looking at the other divisions, the teams in this division, Trailblazers, they got Dame, they got and a handful of guys that
they've got Dame.
They got Dame. That's pretty much it.
Hard stuff.
And then Oklahoma City Thunder, they got my boy Chet from Gonzaga, but he's out. Oh my goodness.
Do you actually like that kid?
I don't hate him. I think so. When we were talking about the draft, I think he has one of the highest ceilings of anyone in the draft. But he has the most questions. But he has the most questions. Like, can he hold up? And I think, the kid coming out next year, Wembanyama or whatever it is. I'm gonna get another mispronunciation in the chat. I think he's better than Chet by far. It's not even close.
Yeah, no question. Have you seen the highlights of this kid?
Oh, this kid is insane.
It's just sick, man. Yeah, he's unbelievable.
So, Chet
to me is Sean Bradley 2.0. I think that kid's gonna flop. Enormously.
I think he'll surprise you a little bit because he has some passing ability and he can hit threes, and that's today's NBA. He fits in today's NBA. Like, he's not banging down low anymore. That's not today's NBA. He's not going to be mixing it up as often. He's going to be kind of, doing some other. Will that be a thing when he does mix it up with some of those guys like Embiid or somebody else? Yeah, it'll be an issue. But until then, I mean, he's out for a year. He got his injury, but I think, interestingly enough, Oklahoma City has so much good talent. I don't know how they keep it all and how they can pay it all down the line. It's crazy. Like, they have so many good players, but I don't know. I think Chet, he has a high ceiling, but he has the most questions. That's all I'll say about
When's
Chet.
he healthy? I know he's jacked up. Is he out for the year? How long is he out?
Oh, he's out. He has I think it was a Liz Frank, if I'm not mistaken, and he's out for the whole season. Yeah, he's done.
Is he? Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at that roster, and again, I look at salaries to go along with these guys. Dort's making $15 million. That I don't know. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is making $30 million. Like, really? I mean, I get it. He's a young kid. All right, he's
Giddey's exciting to watch for sure. He's a young kid that does it. He's like a mini Jokic in a sense that he like gets everyone involved. He's kind of like, he can make shots. He can do a little bit of everything, but he's like, on a lower scale, obviously.
Yeah, and I mean, they're not paying a lot. I mean, that's the only two guys on their team that they have that are making over $10 million a season.
But again, if all these draft picks pay off, they're gonna have to pay. They can't pay everybody, so they have all these top guys, the top draft picks, and they keep having these top draft picks. But eventually, you're gonna have to start paying some of them, and you got to say goodbye to some of them because you can't afford to keep them all. But I mean, that was a thing that Charles Barkley said last year. He's like, "Oh yeah, I love the fact that they're getting all these top young guys, but eventually they're going to need to get paid, and you can't pay everybody."
I mean, I was thinking of somebody else when I saw Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, because now I'm looking at his numbers. I was thinking of who's that turd that Jordan picked when he was with the Bobcats. Had a hyphenated last name as well. For some reason, that guy's face popped in for me. But I'm looking at this kid. This is the kind of kid that I like to see. And
injuries not good.
He's the anti. Oh, hold on. We got bits.
Yeah. Oh, those injuries not good. Just ask Greg Oden. Yeah. No, Greg Oden is kind of the poster child for top draft pick.
Liz Frank's gone bad. Yeah. But listen to this. Listen to this stat line for Shea Gilgeous-Alexander from a year ago. On 23 points a game, he was a 50-40-80 guy. 50% from the floor, 41% from three, and 80% from the free throw line. That's tremendous. I mean, so I take back what I said, because again, I was thinking of that guy whose name is going to come to me, Michael
Olowokandi?
No. Some guy from the Bobcats. It's killing me. I can't remember. Michael Kidd-Gilchrist.
There you go.
That's who it was. I was like, why are they paying that guy all that money? That's why it came to me. No, this kid, I mean, that's some serious numbers. And he's got size. He's a 6'6" point guard. So you have to like that. I just think, man, as a Rockets fan sitting there at number 3 this year, Orlando surprised us by taking Paolo Banchero number 1.
That was a shock.
I really thought he was going to slide to the Rockets at 3, and I was going to be thrilled. But I'll be honest with you, I wasn't unhappy with the consolation prize because Jabari Smith is a kid that plays on both ends of the court.
Yeah.
And they went and got Tari Eason from LSU, who's another stout defender. I love the young guys that the Rockets are building around. But yeah, I mean, so I was praying that Oklahoma City took Chet because I was like, I do not want anything to do with that kid. I don't buy it. I just don't buy it.
Let's see what else.
See, I could be wrong.
Did you just list Rick Smits as the 4th center in the same sentence as Hakeem Ewing and Robinson?
Okay, I blanked on other centers who were good at that time. I had obviously because Hakeem beat Ewing in the finals. Shaq was just coming into the league at the time, so I guess you want to put Shaq in there. And then I had David Robinson because we always played him. You know, Utah didn't have. I'm blanking on who the other good centers were at that time. He was kind of, end of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and those guys, and beginning of Shaq and those guys. So but it was like Rick Smits was a 2010 guy. Don't you dare besmirch the great name of the dunking Dutchman, Rick Smits.
Roger.
Do baby. Shaq was just getting into the league. He was a youngster. He got swept by Dream in the finals and never recovered from that.
Shaq predicting that is a worth a Shaq shimmy. Go give, first of all, give us a Shaq shimmy with a follow, and go give Spees and Benchmark a Shaq shimmy with a follow as well. Go follow Spees every single Thursday and every single Sunday. He's doing a lot of NFL stuff, so make sure go give him some love. You won't regret it, and it's the best.
So
it's the best
mean.
content. Spees, I entirely agree with you on Chet, says Boofus. Those injuries not good, ask Gergoda. Yeah, we got that. Kid Gilchrist. Chet Holmgren is a toothpick compared to Oden. True, but he's got more skill than Greg Oden, in my opinion, when it comes to shooting the ball and being a passer and doing. He has more dynamics than Greg Oden. But that was a different age, though. That was a different time. Shaq was early mid 90s. Smits is more 80s and early 90s.
Smits was 90s. Remember that 98 Indiana Pacers team that should have beat the Bulls in the Eastern Conference Finals? They took the Bulls to 7, and they probably should have beaten the Bulls that year. They got a few bad calls around. So, man, that was Smits, baby. I'm looking at. I'm trying to go to my leaderboards for the for the 90s there so that I can see who else I was forgetting that was a great center.
Let's see. While you're doing that, Redeem, don't say anything else. So say something mean about the Raptors. Well, let's talk about that division here next. Let's get into that division, but we'll say something mean about the Raptors. I feel like the Raptors made a mistake in not moving Fred VanVleet. Is that a hot take? It might be a hot take. I mean, I'm not I don't see what everyone else sees in Fred VanVleet. He's in the same category for me as the Brunson, who went to New York. I think he'll be fine. I think he gets more hype than he's worth, and he's like your number one guy. And I don't see. I think the Raptors will be good, but I think you should have probably done something with Fred VanVleet when you had a chance, when all the trade rumors were happening at the end of last year, and you missed an opportunity. Toronto.
Yeah, I mean, if we're saying something mean about Toronto, I mean, they're in Canada. Hard stop.
Roger,
Canada's great.
No, we love Canada. Love you, Canada.
No, Fred VanVleet, I don't have a problem with them giving him that money. I mean, he's a scrappy guy. I was a short, skinny kid when I played high school basketball, so I had to be a scrappy guy. So, I have a soft spot for scrappy players like Fred VanVleet. I really like the guy. I think he averaged 20 points a game last year. I mean, he's not some scrub. they just don't have enough outside of Van Fleet right now. Pascal Siakam is a really good ball player. He's not a number one guy, in my opinion, at least. I mean, maybe I'm selling him short. I don't think he's a number one guy. So, we'll see. Stranger things have happened, but I'm not exactly expecting huge things.
Destroy on site. Thank you for gifting out a sub to Lazy Dumper. Appreciate that so much. Thank you, Destroy. Love that. Thank you. Thank you for your generosity. Real quick, I saw something in the chat that made me stop for a second. I had to Google. Morning Matumbo says do babe. And I'm like,
yes, Alonzo Mourning. Yes. Yeah. That's a great pick. Matumbo, not so much. Well, I mean, Matumbo was tough to go against defensively because he was amazing. I mean, one of the great defensive centers of all time. Offensively, he was kind of a dumpster fire. I mean, let's be honest.
And then prayers out to Dikembe for that brain tumor they found. So, hopefully.
Now I feel like an asshole for bringing up the fact that he was terrible offensively. Of course, I don't wish ill health on the guy. It's just he wasn't exactly the most polished offensive center. He'd be the first to tell you that. He'd say, no, I was too busy playing defense.
Let's go!
Let's see what else. As a Cincy resident, is the most NBA talk I've listened to this century. Enjoyed it, but tired from flying home from Dallas today. Have a great. Thank you, Dubabe, for being here.
Dubabe, always good to see you, man.
Hey, Dubabe, we're gonna finish out. We're gonna breeze through these last couple divisions, and then also we're gonna upload all of our VOD to YouTube on our channel. So make sure you go check it out. You can catch your boy Spees on our YouTube channel. Go do it. We'll have all of these broken out into smaller videos so you can catch up and skip through as much as you want. That goes for everybody who has to leave and it's going to be a late night. So thank you so much, and appreciate you for joining in. So thank you. And again, there's the link for Speeds and Benchmark in the chat. Go give them a follow.
Appreciate that very much. So we were talking about the Atlantic Division, were we not?
Let's dive into Atlantic Division here. So the Atlantic Division, when we're talking about the favorites, Boston Celtics, obviously the favorites here. Now they have had some coaching controversies. Obviously, they don't have their head coach that took them through the playoffs last year and made their rookie coaching debut. Because
hold that thought real quick, Wags. Listen closely, Wags. I'm not berating Alonzo Mourning's offense. I was berating Dikembe Mutombo's offense. Did I misspeak and say Alonzo Mourning? Because if I did, then that was my fault. But I'm pretty sure you misheard me. No, Dikembe Mutombo's offense, terrible.
Yeah.
Alonzo Mourning, very good offensively, no question about it. Very good on both ends of the floor. Dikembe Mutombo, not so much. Sorry, I saw that in the chat, and I couldn't let that egregious misrepresentation slide.
I mean...
True.
Yeah. Gotta answer back. Slap back on that. I thought you were talking about Mourning. No. So Boston having that coaching controversy with all the sexual misconduct and he's sleeping with the owner, one of the partial owner's wives, and more. Even crazy.
Is that a controversy though? I'm being serious. I'm not trying to be an asshole because we talked about this on our show, and I really think that. As a society, I saw this on Bill Maher's show, which I'm not a big Bill Maher fan, and we don't talk politics on our show, and I'm assuming you don't on yours either, so I'm not going to get into the political implications of this. But Bill Maher brought up what I thought was an excellent point. We talk about in society today how lonely people are. How there's a loneliness epidemic in our society. There's so much more depression and all that other kind of shit. And people talk about how hard it is to meet somebody. And people are relying on things like online dating and Tinder and all that other kind of shit. Where are people more likely to meet someone that they could potentially connect with than at work? And I think it wouldn't be an altogether bad thing to kind of reevaluate this whole relationship at work is an awful thing and we're automatically going to suspend people. No, I get it. With the Celtics coach, he's married and he's having an affair. So I get that from that person. I'm not talking about him in particular, but this idea that that somehow all work relationships are off limits. I don't know. It just seems like if two consenting adults are having a physical relationship with one another, is that really the business of the organization or that particular company? Am I just completely off base here and out of my mind, or is this something that kind of, it just felt a little weird to me? It felt kind of strange. That's all.
I think because it was an owner's wife, maybe there's some things that like extend to like some like.
But even at that point, that if you're saying that they suspended him simply because it was one of the owner's wives, and the owner has the authority to suspend him, like, to me that's even worse. Because again, what's the knock on workplace relationships? It's power imbalance, right? They especially have a problem with somebody who's lower on the totem pole sleeps with somebody who's higher on the totem pole, because this person up here can technically exert some kind of power or influence over what happens to this person down here.
Yeah.
Well, if it's the owner then who's above everybody, who's suspending the dude, to me that makes it even more like egregious. You know, it's just, I don't know. I know we're getting sidetracked here, but I think the 1 year suspension for a guy having a consensual relationship with somebody within the organization, to me, that's just that's a lot, man. I mean, I didn't agree with the decision personally. I think he got a bad rap. Obviously, if there's more to this story that we don't know,
I think there is.
It was a situation where maybe he was using his influence to, coerce this girl into this relationship. Then that's 100% different. And what I'm saying here does not apply to that. But I mean, don't you think? I want to say, don't you think they should tell us? But really, I mean, the whole thing to me is kind of not something that the public needs to know about. I mean, I don't know, man. It's really odd.
I just think if you're gonna move on. I mean, I think it's just like shit or get off the pot. Like, don't like.
That's what Wag says in the chat. Yeah, just fire him if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, like you just make it so it's like if you're gonna suspend him for a year and he might come back, he might not. It's like, well, at that point, just like move on from him. And then we've got all these other reports that say, like, other people who are close to the situation say, oh, it's a lot worse than what people think. It's widespread. It's a whole thing. Like, so that being said, they're still picked to win the division. Somehow. So the Celtics still have a good team. I think they'll be good. The Brooklyn Nets are an interesting one, though, because the Brooklyn Nets in this division, Atlantic Division, are very interesting in the sense that if Ben Simmons pans out to be a good player for them, I think they're the favorites to win this division. And because you got all the crazy offseason stuff with Kevin Durant and then Kyrie Irving, all the stuff from last year with the vaccination stuff, but he's back in the fold. And then you have, like, there's a lot of things, but there's too much talent on that team for them not to be successful, especially with Ben Simmons if he pans out. So Brooklyn kind of but this is a stacked division because you got the Philadelphia 76ers right behind them at plus 280.
Early spoiler alert, Philly's my pick to win it all this year. I think Philly goes all the way. I think that team finally figures out a way to put it together. What you're saying about Brooklyn is absolutely right. I mean, they've still got Seth Curry, who's one of the best shooters in the league. He's a rock solid number 2. He's your 2 guard out there. He's going to be really good. Joe Harris, we've seen one of the great 3-point shooters in all of basketball, but he can go kind of cold from time to time. We saw that in the playoffs a couple years ago. I agree with you. I have no confidence whatsoever in that team staying healthy. I mean, I just don't. For me, it's just whether it be staying healthy or Kyrie Irving doing something stupid that forces him to miss games, or he just flat out decides to not. I think that team severely lacks leadership, and I think that showed last year, and I think it's going to show again this year. I don't think there's somebody, because say all you want about Kevin Durant as a basketball player. He's one of the 2 or 3 best basketball players on the planet today, in my opinion. he is not a team leader. He's just not. He's
No.
He doesn't have the maturity for it.
Nope.
It's not his thing. And obviously Kyrie, there's just too much peripheral shit going on there. And I just don't think that team, number one, is going to be healthy from the start of the season to the end. I think there's going to be some kind of drama that comes in there and derails them. And look, the guy that we're talking about, that you're talking about, potentially being the difference maker, Ben Simmons, it's a head case himself. I mean, this is another guy. Yep. You've taken another guy who's a big problem and thrown him onto a team that already has problems. So no, I think that's a disaster waiting to happen. I'm avoiding the Nets like kryptonite this year. I've fallen for that trap before.
Yep.
When it was Kyrie and Harden and Durant. I'm not falling for it again. I do not like the Nets for an entire NBA season. I can't for the life of me imagine how they are betting favorites over the Sixers in that division.
Man,
that's just madness to me.
I look at the Sixers roster though. So I mean, look at this. Yesterday, their debut, James Harden had 35 points to lead the team. If you get James Harden back to what he was,
I'm telling you.
So 35 points, 12 for 12 from the free throw line, because he gets to the free throw line a million times a game. Don't worry. Embiid does too. I mean, he only got to the line 9 times. I was shocked by that. That was I would have taken the over on 15 if I could. But so Harden, just 35 points, 12 for 12 from the free throw line, 5 from 9 from 3. Maxey, 21 points. Embiid, 26 points, 15 rebounds. And then you have Tobias Harris. Tobias Harris he's a dog. He gets in there.
He's a solid fourth guy.
He's a solid guy. Then you get guys on the bench. You got dogs like Montrezl Harrell and Thibault and
I love Montrezl Harrell. I was so sad when he left the Rockets. I love that kid.
And you got some PJ Tucker action, some defensive presence there, some rebounding, he can bring it from that standpoint. So I like a lot. I think the Philadelphia 76ers, I agree with you. I think they're going to be in the mix to win this division as well. I honestly kind of like them over Boston right now, even though Boston beat them in game 1. So interesting. But let's get to the chat real quick, and I'll give my pick for this one, and then we'll move on to the next one. And then we got to get to NFL, so we'll kind of breeze through the next couple divisions here and get to the NFL Week 7. So I think there's just more that can go wrong with long-term than right with workplace relationships, not accounting for power dynamic issues.
That's fair.
Says casually. If you are the owner and one of your employees is sleeping with your wife, are you not firing him? And there's a power thing that what you said, right? There's a power thing with that, but like there are some things that it's like, it's behind closed doors, so you got to balance that too. That's just my opinion though, says casually. Booster Boofus, I agree with you again. I had Philly to win it all also. You have Philly winning it all in the East, and then you have the Nuggets winning it all in the whole thing, right? That's what you guys really mean. Is when looks like the Nuggets are losing this one down 15. It's fine. Like I said, just get some bitter competition in here, and then we'll compete a little bit better. So for this division, let me go back to this real quick. I'm kind of, you know what? I'm gonna go with you guys. I'm going to take Philly to win this division.
Yeah, I'm going with the Sixers. And one other very, very quick note, and I'll try to make it short because I know we're trying to move on. I think this is one of my hot takes for the season. I think that Tyrese Maxey is this year's Kawhi Leonard, and I'm going to tell you what I mean. If you recall, when Kawhi Leonard was with the Spurs, that was not Kawhi Leonard's team, not by a long shot.
No,
that was Tim Duncan's team. Manu Ginobili was there. Tony Parker was there. Okay, but when you get into the finals, it was Kawhi Leonard the one that won the Finals MVP, and then of course he goes on. He leaves San Antonio, goes on to be the number 1 guy and be an all-star and be win another title with Toronto and so on and so forth. The rest of history. I think to me, and they're not the same player. Okay. But to me, Tyrese Maxey is that caliber of player. I think that this is going to be the season where Tyrese Maxey shows that when he is the guy, and let's face it, he's still third in the pecking order right now, at least on that Philadelphia team behind Embiid and Harden. To me, Tyrese Maxey is going to be like Kawhi Leonard was for the Spurs in that championship run. He's going to be a guy that is going to show you this year that he can be a number one on somebody else's team. And that, coupled with the play of Embiid and Harden, is what's going to put the Sixers over the top, in my opinion. That's my hot take. I think Tyrese Maxey explodes this year. And I think he's going to have a phenomenal season. And I think that if he doesn't stay in Philly, wherever he goes, he's going to go somewhere where he is the number one guy. And I watch out for Tyrese Maxey. That's all I'm going to say. He is my sleeper pick to have a breakout season and just be absolutely phenomenal for the Sixers this year.
Last thing about this division, I think we have some people saying C's all the way. C's the Celtics, Philly, Nets says destroy on site. Y'all are crazy. Saying, it's all about the Celtics. I will say Tatum better have learned some things from last year because he melted down when it mattered at the very end of that series. And he was non-existent. Go ask Boston fans how they feel about his performance in that last series. Because
if you're going to melt down, the finals is the place to melt down, right?
Yeah, it is. But
you don't want to ever melt down, but by the same token, at least he got him that far. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, so I think he will learn from that. So I'm not saying I think Tatum's a top player in this league. He's a top 10 guy. I just think that, if he learns from what how to be assertive in those series, I think that they'll be better. Jaylen Brown put up 35 yesterday, too, to match Tatum against Philadelphia, which I think that's going to be potentially an Eastern Conference Finals, when it comes down to the end of the season. But, I think there's some... For me, Boston has some depth issues outside of their starting lineup. They have a great starting lineup. I think their depth issues they have Blake Griffin, Vonleh, and Hauser. Brogdon was a good pickup. I like Brogdon. But outside of that, I don't know. Cornette, Jackson, they got some okay pieces. I think that maybe they struggle a little bit when their starting lineup goes out, but still they have old man Horford in the center. He's not going to be able to give you what you need from him. And I think that, when you're down to it in a playoff series and you're going up against Embiid or some of these other big centers in the league, it's going to be a little tougher for him. So that's my only thing with the Celtics, but I do like the higher ceiling of the Philadelphia 76ers. Let's move on to the Central Division. You got the Milwaukee Bucks, Cleveland Cavaliers, Bulls, Pistons, and Pacers. Pacers and Pistons. I think Pistons are working their way up. They're kind of like some of these other young teams. They're not close, but they're working their way up the right way through the draft. They got a lot of young talent for Detroit. I think there's a lot of things you should be excited about. Pacers, they're kind of rebuilding mode. Bulls, underachieving from last year. We thought they were going to be better, and then they didn't end up being that. Cavaliers made some big moves to get Donovan Mitchell into the fold, which I think that's going to help them a ton. They're going to be a slow mesh. They're going to get together, and then I think Milwaukee is still the cream of the crop. I have them winning this division.
Yeah, I think it's Milwaukee and then everybody else.
Yep.
Again, the Donovan Mitchell pickup was really good for the Cavs. And that was a team, let's face it, they came out of nowhere last year. Nobody had the Cavs being a top 5 team in the East, for crying out loud. That was insane. They still got Darius Garland, obviously, there. Pair him with Donovan Mitchell, and that's as good a backcourt as there is in basketball. That's a really, really rock solid backcourt. I like that team. Again, it's one of those where it's kind of like, did they catch lightning in a bottle last season and they're going to come back down to earth this season? They do have a nice mix of, some veterans in there. We mentioned Kevin Love earlier. He's still there. Got like a Karis LeVert who's there. He's been around for a little while. So, I like the mix in Cleveland, but Milwaukee's the class of that division, if not, the entire Eastern Conference. They're tremendous. Chris Middleton, when he was a free agent a couple of years ago and Harden was still with the Rockets, I was praying that the Rockets would find a way to sign him, and he re-signed with Milwaukee. I think Chris Middleton is one of the most underrated players in all of basketball. He is so good, particularly with his passing. I mean, he is a tremendous passer. I love that Milwaukee team. I think they're awesome. I picked them to win it again last year. And honestly, they'll be right in the mix again this year. So yeah, Chicago again. I don't have enough faith in Lonzo Ball as my number 3 guy. But the 1-2 punch of DeRozan and Zach LaVine is really nice. But yeah, it's Milwaukee, and I think it's a pretty steep drop off after that as far as the division goes.
Yeah. Did you see the bench press of the Jazz tonight? Wow. Yeah. I haven't looked at the box score yet, but I'll look at it here in a little bit. They did better than their starters for sure. Boston, Milwaukee, rest of the East, says Double Doc. And Destroy on Site's like he's agreeing. Yeah, I mean, I think Milwaukee is definitely, we're talking about Milwaukee in this division right now. I have them winning the division. And I think that you have the best player in the world. Antetokounmpo arguably is the best player in the world. And he does, you can't game plan for the guy like that. So
no. Your Nuggets got blown out by 20 by the freaking Jazz. Yeah, Chris,
it's because,
what are we doing?
It's because we were like huge favorites. And I saw this coming. There was actually a lot of bets online that were like, take Nuggets plus or -8, take -7.5. And I'm like, I'm not touching that bet with a 10-foot pole. And
you shot 8% from the floor and lost by 20.
That's why. Don't trust the Nuggets early in the season. I'll tell you that they'll finish in the top 3. I guarantee it. I guarantee.
I guess not. Well, here's why: they shot 5 of 22 from 3, and freaking Utah shot 16 of 38 from 3. So that'll do it.
Yeah. Milwaukee, Cavs, Bulls, says Destroy. Okay, all right. I like all that. Keep throwing your predictions out there.
I like that as well. I would agree with that.
So let's get on to let's go. We got one more division, the East. We'll breeze through the Southeast Division. Miami, Atlanta Hawks, Charlotte Hornets, Washington Wizards, Orlando Magic. Miami is the favorite to come out of this one. Atlanta's second. This is arguably one of my least favorite divisions. And
this division sucks. I hate this division. It's not great.
I think there's nothing exciting. Miami should
Jimmy
come
Butler, out. I like Trae Young, but yeah, I it should be Miami. I'm with you.
It's Miami or nothing if I'm betting on this one. And Atlanta could be sneaky, but they've choked for me a little bit too much when it comes down. Like Atlanta had a lot of hype the last season and a half of this is Trae Young's year. This is their year. I mean, they did make some moves. DeJounte Murray's there. So I like that
DeJounte Murray is a big pickup.
He's a big pickup. So I do like that. I just think they still are playing second fiddle to a Miami Heat team who's well coached, and they have a lot of good talent on that Miami Heat team.
You know what? I forgot about DeJounte Murray going there. Now that I think about it, and I'm looking at their roster right here in front of me, I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to take the Hawks in this division.
Ooh, okay.
Trae Young, Bogdanovich at the 2. John Collins is your power forward. You've got Murray. Murray's a 2-3. And Clint Capella, who came up. That's a formidable starting 5. Now, depth is where they're gonna feel it. They're not a particularly deep team. But I'm going to go with Miami here. I like this. I like that DeJounte Murray pickup. I think that's huge. And the fact that they didn't have to give up John Collins, or did they get him in a trade, or did they get him? They got him in a trade, did they not?
I believe so. Yeah, trade.
I think they did. Yeah, they gave up a bunch of draft picks for him. I really like that starting 5. That's a really, really solid starting 5. And again, I couldn't tell you who the hell most of these guys coming off their bench are. So I know that there's that. But as far as that starting 5 goes, I think that might be enough to get them first place in this division. I'm going to go with the Hawks, man. I'm going the Hawks into surprise.
Atlanta is one of my playoff teams, and I do have them winning a potential first round matchup with whoever they play early on. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if they may. It's going to be close to win the division because Miami is always good and always in there. But I do think they make a little bit of a run to the second round of the playoffs. Just about the beginning of the game, announcer said, "Well, Jazz are scoring report. Jazz read the scouting report. Last 8 points came from going directly at MPJ. Oh, poor MPJ.
There you go.
He needs to work on his defense.
Have we been on for 2 hours already?
Yeah. Is
My
that?
God, Spees, shut up and quit talking. All right. All right.
No, we're
Enough
good.
out of
We're
me.
good. Yeah. Unless if you got to hop off, no.
No, I'm great. I just I feel bad for putting the people through this much of my nonsense.
No, I think everyone's. Are you guys digging the NBA talk? Are you guys having a good time, enjoying like what we're putting out here? If so, let us know. I've contemplated putting out an NBA show that we maybe need to put together. Speeds. Maybe you and I can put together a little NBA show another day of the week. But otherwise, let's get to the last division here in this one. I picked Miami, you picked Atlanta in that last one. Last one is the Pacific Division. This is the Clippers, the Warriors, the Suns, the Lakers, and the Kings. Now, the Kings are one of those teams that I like a lot. So, you got I'm a big Zags guy, so you got some Zags on that team. Oh, by the way, Wizards, we just went over the Southeast Division. Wizards have like 5 Gonzaga players. I'm a big Gonzaga guy. It's just what it
mean.
is. But I will say,
Is Mark Few still at Gonzaga?
he is.
Dude, I went to a coaching clinic and Mark Few was there, and I was totally mesmerized by that guy. He is such a phenomenal coach.
He's so good. He
was all about fundamentals. Mark Few was there. Rick Majerus was there. Rest in peace. Jim Boeheim was there. Michigan State. Why am I blanking on his name? Fucking Michigan State's head coach. Anyway, Michigan State's head coach was there. Gino Auriemma. I was blown away by Mark Few. Love that guy. Anyway, sorry, sidetracking.
No, you're good. Let's just say it like it is. Phoenix Suns made it far last year, but they're third in this division to come away with it, behind Golden State, rightfully so, and the Clippers, who have made some moves to try to solidify, but there's some questions with the Clippers. People, of course, everyone jumps on the Clippers because they're the sweethearts and they have Ty Lue as their coach, and everyone's saying Ty Lue is the best coach ever. And I'm like, first of all, what has Ty Lue done outside of having like LeBron James on his team?
Yes, exactly.
And
that's madness.
When people say Ty Lue is the best coach in the league, one of the best coaches in the league, I've heard it on ESPN. I've heard it on a couple, and I'm like, stop. Ty Lue is a product of who he was coaching, and that is LeBron James. That's it. So I'm not high on the Clippers as high as everyone else is. They're like, they're going to win it all. No, I like Golden State more than I do the Clippers in this division. And then I like maybe the Clippers to come behind them. Suns take a step back. They have some drama going on. DeAndre Ayton tried to get out. He wasn't happy. He came back in the fold because they matched the contract offer that was offered by, I can't remember who it was. It was another team. But so what's funny is I haven't even mentioned the Lakers yet, because they're not even worth mentioning in these conversations, because they might be a play-in team. Maybe. They don't have shooters.
Oh, they're definitely a play-in team at best.
They don't have shooters. This is what I said last year, by the way, too. Scotty and I on our show last year were like, Los Angeles isn't going to do anything. We had them as a play-in game, and we overshot them. And let's just say we gave them too much credit. But now everyone's come back and they think they're trash. But what do you think about these teams here?
Well, I'll tell you, I like what the Clippers have done, but I've gone through fool's gold with the Clippers like I have with the Nets in the past, and I'm talking about going back to the Chris Paul, Blake Griffin days.
Those were the days.
When they were blowing 3-1 leads in the playoffs to the Rockets, when the Rockets were just not very good, and they still somehow managed to blow that. I don't know what it is about the Clippers, man, but they haven't been able to put it together. Kawhi Leonard hasn't been able to stay healthy. Between him and Paul George, it seems like one of them's always hurt. I like the addition of a guy like John Wall, although, where does John Wall fit in here? Is he coming off the bench? Are they going to put Reggie Jackson on the bench and start John Wall at the point guard? I don't know. But yeah, I think that's an overrated roster, to be honest with you. That's another team where your two best players kind of play the same position, with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. They're both really good at it, don't get me wrong. But I'm not picking against Golden State. No way am I picking the Clippers over Golden State. And I don't buy that Phoenix is going to have fallen off that much. Phoenix is really, really, really good. I think the Clippers are third place in this division. I put Golden State number 1. I still got Phoenix number 2. Even though, I mean, the best record in basketball a year ago, did they not? Wasn't it Phoenix number 1 overall last year? They were great.
Pretty good.
And yeah, and Golden State is still there. So yeah, I'm taking Golden State number 1. I'll take the Suns number 2, and I got the Clippers as number 3. As far as the Lakers go, just real quick, I'm gonna throw some teams out. You tell me better or worse than the Lakers. Warriors.
Better.
Clippers.
Better.
Suns.
Better.
Nuggets.
Better.
Grizzlies.
Better.
Mavericks.
Better.
Timberwolves.
Better. Yeah, they have young. Yeah, better.
Pelicans.
Better.
There's your 8 playoff teams in the West.
Yeah.
So what you got left in the West are the Lakers, the Blazers, the Kings, the Jazz, the Thunder, the Spurs, the Rockets. We can say the only other teams really that are going to be in that 8 to 10 range are the King. I mean, it's going to be the Lakers fighting it out with the likes of Sacramento and Portland just to make it into the play-in.
Which, by the way, I'm high on Sacramento as a weirdly enough, I think, I'm high on their over total. I think their over-under is kind of low. For the talent that they have on Sacramento, they have a lot of pieces there in this division, but like they are picked last. Part of me wants to pick them to beat the Lakers out, like
I'm telling
record-wise.
I'd be stunned if the Lakers finish higher than the play-in. Like if they somehow finish in the top 6 in a conference with the Warriors, Clippers, Suns, Mavs, Grizzlies, and Nuggets,
they're playing.
They're playing,
yeah.
And no, they're garbage.
I mean,
Warriors, Suns, and Clippers for me in the
game one. LeBron in the post conference, he's like, we don't have shooters. Like he's making excuses already. And it's one game into the season against the Golden State team. We're not even one game in, and he's already saying we don't have enough shooters on this team. We don't. Yeah. And that's a bad sign. If you're the Lakers team, it's like, you make those post conference, like, you know what, we have some things to work on. We got to shoot better. We got to do this. We got to do that. When he says straight out, we don't have good enough shooters on this team. Yeah. That's a red flag, Lakers fans. Let's just put it like it is.
That's pretty bad.
That's a bad situation. No way Lakers finish higher than 8th or 9th at best. I'm right with you on that on Destroy. It's exactly that. So, all right. So that's what we have here. I have Golden State winning this division over the Clippers.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you. I got Golden State number 1. And I'm taking Phoenix over the Clippers. I'm just not buying it with the Clippers.
So
I'm not there.
So there we go. So let's just break this down then. Who do you got in your Eastern Conference? Who do you got in your Western Conference? And then I'll do mine as well.
I'm going to go ahead and take Philadelphia out of the East. I think Harden steps back up. And I told you, I think Maxey is a breakout player this season. And he solidifies himself as one of the best young talents in all of basketball. As far as getting to the finals,
so mean.
Man, it's a tough one in the West because I feel like they're really top heavy. But you know what? I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to take your Denver Nuggets, man.
Let's go.
I'm going to take your Denver Nuggets. I think if Jamal Murray stays healthy, we've seen what Jokic can do. I'm gonna go out on a limb here. It feels crazy picking this team, but I like Denver a lot. I really do like this Denver squad. I think Jokic is tried and true as one of the best. He's one of the best players in all of basketball. And getting Jamal Murray back is so huge for this team. I think when it comes right down to it and you get into the playoffs and you need a bucket late, you can count on a guy like Jokic to either hit that bucket or find somebody who's wide open that can do the same. So give me Philly and Denver in the finals. I can't go so far as to pick them in the finals, though. I think this is Philly's year. I think this is the year Harden finally gets over the hump. I'll take the 76ers over the Nuggets in the NBA finals this year.
Okay. All right. It's hard for me to go against a Milwaukee Bucks team in the East. I think Milwaukee I think they might be going up against, maybe it's a Milwaukee and Philadelphia Eastern Conference Finals is what I'm thinking here, potentially. So maybe, and not to say anything bad about Boston. I think Boston is a great team. I just think they're going to be in they're going to be absolute game. There's going to be some great games in the Eastern Conference Finals. I think Milwaukee with one of the best players in the entire world finds a way. They've done it before with probably almost a similar, if not lesser roster before. So do I think that you just can't plan for Giannis? Yeah, it's tough. Middleton, you talked about Middleton a ton, but I think Milwaukee has a really good chance to make it back this year. I think Denver is my other team. Obviously, I'm a homer, but at the same time, I know this roster. I've watched it enough. We got one of the best players in the league. They arguably have one of the best starting lineups. Denver does in the NBA, and their depth just adds to that. We'll take away this first game, but
I was gonna say they just dumped by 20
they
to the
got
Jazz.
blown out. But I still like them to come out of the West, which is crazy to me that they're behind Golden State, LA, Phoenix already in these bettings, the odds. However, I think the Nuggets, and I'm gonna go on a limb. I'll be a homer here. I got the Nuggets beating the Milwaukee Bucks in 6.
All right, then. I don't hate that. I don't hate either one of those picks. I think they're good picks. Listen, the Warriors are going to be a tough out as always. Phoenix is always a tough out. I say always. These last couple of seasons, they've been a tough out. Obviously, they've been very, very good. And for everybody else, look, it really comes down to staying healthy. And we've seen how quickly things can go south. Even in the playoffs. I mean, we saw it with the Grizzlies. They had such a tremendous regular season, and then just a freakish injury to Ja Morant. Next thing you know, your season's over.
A lot can change.
A lot can change, but yeah, man, I'm a big believer in strong rosters, top to bottom, and I think that that between Philly and Denver, those two rosters are just really well balanced top to bottom. They've got some players on the bench that can step in and make plays when the starters are out. And I'm confident in those picks. But we'll see what happens, man. But I don't hate either of your picks either. Obviously, I agree with you on Denver, but Milwaukee's a great pick as well. No question.
There you go. That's our NBA season preview. Thank you guys for sticking around. We have some NFL games we're going to cover here shortly. So stick around. We're going to get to those here and make sure that you have everything you need to know going into this week, plus our best bets. Don't say anything at all. Last thing we'll do on the NBA here. Don't say anything at all. You have to say something bad about the NBA. The NBA. Oh, man. I love the NBA. That's the problem. I love the NBA. We have too many soft players in the NBA. I think there's too many soft players in the NBA. I think the stars need to not be soft. And we've seen that with a few teams and a handful of players. And there's a lot of drama in it, and when it comes to I get mental health is a big thing. I'm getting political here a little bit, but I missed the Jordan days when things were just you just played through everything. And,
it had to be a killer.
It's just I miss some of that stuff. So there you go. There's say something bad about there's too many soft stars in the NBA.
I agree. If I had to say something bad about the NBA, God, I'm so sick of the 3-point shot. I just
okay.
As a coach, when I see guys running a fast break, a 3-on-1 fast break, you got your point guard bringing it up the middle, and the two guys on the outside run to the corners of the 3-point line. I don't have any hair, but I want to just beat my head against the wall. Take the ball to the basket, for God's sake. I would love to see the NBA get rid of the 3-point line. And that's my controversial take.
Go back. Hot takes.
Get rid of the 3-point line and just let these guys go out there and play. And that way, because even little kids, the first thing, you got a kid that's like, waist high, and the first thing he's going to do is go stand out there behind the 3-point line and try chucking it up. And it's just ridiculous. I'm tired of the 3-point shot. I'm tired of it.
It's crazy. So there you go. Guys, enjoy the NBA season. We're going to be covering a lot of all the ins and outs, top stories, everything throughout the course of the season. So make sure you check the Spees, the Benchmark Show, and us every single week so that you guys know what's going on. You guys got a lot of NFL stuff going on too. So make sure you go give them a follow if you have not already. Let's get one more shout out reckoning for Spees and the Benchmark if you can. Appreciate that. So, all right, let's we'll breeze through some of the NFL stuff. I know, we spent a lot of time on the NBA
on forever.
However, we have a lot to talk about with these games, and some of these we'll just kind of get through, and some of these we will, maybe spend a little bit more time on. However, Falcons at Bengals. This is our first game of the week that we're going to be covering here. We only have 8 games that we're covering, so if you have some others that you want to talk about, just let us know in the chat. Falcons at Bengals. This one is an interesting one to me in the sense that the Falcons are a team that have kind of surprised offensively. How are they with Marcus Mariota doing what they're doing? But then you got the Bengals, who maybe have a little bit underachieved this year. They're maybe not as, and we get Higgins back. You got a couple, all the receivers are going to be back here for Cincinnati, which I think will be a big help. I like Cincinnati in this one to win this game. However, you know what I like more? One of my best bets of the week is the over in this game. 47.5. It seems low for a team like Atlanta that puts up a shit ton of points, and for a team that Cincinnati that's going to have all their receivers back.
Let's be nice. Yeah. Let's be nice.
I mean, 47.5. I could see this game sailing over that total. What are you looking for in this game, Spees? And what catches your eye?
Well, I'll tell you. What I see when I look at the Bengals is a team that has suddenly abandoned the run.
Yeah.
Or if they do try to run, they're not running the ball well at all this season. And I think that's really hurt them offensively. I mean, we're talking about a team with Joe Mixon last year, top 5 in the league, I believe, in rushing yards a season ago. And yet they can't run the football.
No.
And if you recall, the big deal in Cincinnati was, we finally beefed up that offensive line. We went and got 3 more starters on our offensive line. We can finally protect Joe Burrow. They can't protect Joe Burrow.
No. And
they can't run the football. So that's problematic. The good thing for them is I think they're a little bit better defense. Well, I mean, here's the crazy thing about the Falcons. I spent last week's pregame before the Sunday night game talking about the Sunday afternoon game. Thank you for the raid. Boards to buckets. Sorry, I'm just
buckets. Let's go. Show. Welcome in. Thank you so much for the raid. Appreciate it. Boards to buckets. You're new. Thank you so much for being a part of the, what we have going on here in the Action Lab. Welcome, Raiders. Hope you had a great stream. My name is Chris. This is Spees, sitting in for Scotty. Thank you for joining in. Hope you had a great stream. And we are talking some NFL Week 7. So make sure you guys let us know who your teams are and where you're from. We like to get to know each and every one of you. Hit that follow button so you know when we go live each and every single week. And then make sure you go check out Spees and the Benchmark as well. So shout out to Spees and the Benchmark.
So real quickly, like I said, I spent last week talking about how good that Niners defense was. And then the Falcons just go and just absolutely go nuts against the Niners offensively, put up 28 points like it was nothing against the Niners. So I can't figure out this Falcons team to save my life. I just don't think defensively they have enough to keep up with Joe Burrow if he's playing as good as he can. The fact that this is in Cincinnati, I think gives them a slight edge, but I think this game is going to be, I think Bengals -6 is a pretty generous line considering that the Falcons, I thought the Falcons were going to be one of the worst teams in football this year. And they're just not. I mean, they're middle of the pack. They're 3-3. They got the same record as the Bengals. I don't know which Falcons team we're going to get, but if I had to guess, I think we're going to get good Joe Burrow at home. So I like the Bengals in this game. As far as the over/under, I'm with you. I think that the Falcons showed you last week that they could put points on the board against good defenses. And Cincinnati's not exactly, light the world on fire defensively this year. So it could very well be a high-scoring game. I like the over as well, but give me the Bengals at home in this one.
Love it. Crypto Meg, welcome in. Clippers, Raiders. Hey, Raiders are an interesting one too. Like there's like are the Raiders? Well, maybe we'll talk about this. Are the Raiders the worst 1-4 team? I mean, are they just one-win team? Wait, how many wins do the Raiders have now?
The Raiders just have one. They're 1-4.
Yeah. So it's like, man. Crypto, welcome in. Thank you for being a part of the stream. Hope guys, hit that follow button if you have not already. We love to have you part of a stream. By the way, 23 points. Falcons scoring at least 23 points against everyone but Tampa Bay's elite rush defense. So it's like, I mean, they're going to put up points. It's only a matter of time. And if you have them putting up at least 20 points and you have Cincinnati Bengals winning, this over seems very, very juicy. So love the over in this one. Next up, Browns at Ravens. Interesting one as well. The Ravens coming off. Can the Ravens hold on to a lead to save their lives? Probably not.
Nuts.
I don't know.
It's nuts.
But this, for me, is one of my bets of the week as well. I have the Ravens in a get-right spot here. They've melted down against Miami. They've melted down. Fuck the Ratbird, says Reckoning. Yeah. We got a lot of hate against the Ratbirds. But I think the Ravens, if this was any higher, I probably wouldn't be as excited about it, but it's a touchdown. I think the Ravens can beat the Browns by a touchdown. Browns let me down a couple times this year when it comes to betting against the spread. And do I think they have a good team? Yeah, they do. Do I think they're like good enough in that top echelon of teams? No, not necessarily. So I have the Ravens -6.5. I think they win this game by a touchdown at least at home. It's a get-right spot. They've had a lot of issues. They had a letdown last week. I think they get it done here by a touchdown. What do you think?
Look, the Ravens have a pretty rock-solid run defense. I mean, they're definitely in the top third of the league in terms of rushing defense, and that's what you're looking for if you're a Cleveland fan. You're looking for Nick Chubb. You're looking for Kareem Hunt, that type of thing. I don't think you're looking for Jacoby Brissett to necessarily lead you to victory there. Listen, the X factor, as it is in most games, is Mark Andrews. Nobody can stop this guy. I mean, Mark Andrews is just—he's
a beast.
He's a beast. He's absolutely tremendous. And listen, the Ravens have had about as bad a luck as any team in football this season. Listen, it might be payback for last year when they started off as one of the luckiest teams in the NFL. You remember that ridiculous comeback they had against the Lions? They hit the 66-yarder to win the game as time ran out. It just... That's the way that it goes sometimes. But yeah, I got the Ravens at home in this one. I don't think the Browns have enough offensively to keep up with the Ravens. I'm assuming that the Ravens are going to get Rashad Bateman back. I think that's a huge addition to that team. They've not looked great throwing the football without Rashad Bateman in there. I think he's kind of an underrated guy in my opinion. Maybe that's just because I have him on my fantasy team.
There you go.
But yeah, they haven't lit the world on fire by any stretch as far as throwing the football. I think getting Rashad Bateman back will help them out enormously. So yeah, I like the Ravens at home. I don't love the spread in this one either, but I still think the Ravens. I think them winning by a touchdown, I think that's definitely doable. The Rashad Bateman, getting him back healthy, I think helps out a lot. I'll take the Ravens at home.
Yeah, and the Ravens dominated the Giants statistically, gaining 7 yards per play and allowed only 3.8. So they did well against a good Giants team who we didn't believe a lot, and I still kind of am holding my breath on the Giants. I'm not sold on the Giants quite yet, but Browns looked impressive the first 3 weeks, and they've kind of fallen apart since. So they've kind of been on the downslide with Jacoby Brissett more so than anything else, but they got cooked by Bailey Zappi. So I'm kind of concerned a little bit for them, which is why I like Baltimore a little bit more in this one. So there you go. Ravens, we both like the Ravens. I like them against the spread. It's one of my best bets of the week, but you have them as just, you liking them to win. What else do we have in the chat real quick before we get to the next one? I like the last game. If you got the Ravens, you're probably getting the over. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, with 46.5 is a spread here. I think that's manageable here because I think the Browns will put up some points against the Ravens. I think division matchups typically tend to be a little tougher, right? You kind of get used to each other, right? But by the way, you missed a couple channel points redemptions. What do we miss? Rec, throw him back in here again so that we can get to him. Nick Chubb is killing this season. Yeah, I mean, there's not too many running backs, and Nick Chubb is one of them that's killing it. All right, Lions at the Cowboys. All right, so Cowboys, we've had debates on this show. I don't know if you've been here, Spees, for these, but there's been a lot of people jumping on the bandwagon for Dak to be replaced in Dallas, and I'm just like, what are we doing?
Just stop it.
And you know, Scotty has the same thing. We have had some rough goes with people throwing out there like, and we get it. It's a lot of fun back and forth banter on it, but Dak is the guy. This could be the week that we get him back. It's a perfect week for him coming against the Detroit Lions team that likes to give up points. Like they are very good at giving up points. So, you know, it's a great transition game. You had a rough last couple weeks, even though Dallas won one, lost one. And here you go. You know, the Philadelphia Eagles put it to them. The Philadelphia Eagles are probably the best team in the NFC. Not saying that that's a big thing because the NFC is weaker, but I will say that Dallas will have a higher ceiling with Dak Prescott. Dallas is where I would lean in this one. It's not one of my best bets of the week, but I would have picked Dallas -7 if I didn't already go with another bet that we're going to reveal here later on. So what do you got in this one, Spees?
Yeah, I think Dak Prescott coming back is huge for the Cowboys. Listen, no disrespect to Cooper Rush and what he did, but come on, he's not on the same planet as Dak Prescott. I mean, we've got to stop the madness. There's no way. There's no way in hell that Cooper Rush replaces Dak Prescott. That's just insane. The Lions can't stop anyone. I mean, look, if I'm a football fan of a bad team that has some good young talent, the Lions are like the perfect recipe for that because they score a ton and they give up a ton. So, I mean, every time you watch a Lions game, you have the potential for like a, 49-45 shootout because they can't stop anybody. Nope. And yet the only offense that's been better than them so far this season, if you look at numbers wise, has been Buffalo. I mean, they're so much fun to watch. Listen, I don't think they're going to beat Dallas. This was almost one of my picks as far as over-under goes, because I think this could easily go over 48.
I can see that.
But yeah, Cowboys is a 7-point favorite at home against the Lions team that can't stop anybody when the Cowboys are getting Dak Prescott back. Yeah, I think that's. I'd take the Cowboys -7, and I'd even take the over in this game. I think this is going to be a shootout.
I love it. I think we're in agreement on that Cowboys -7. The over is. There's only one Lions game that hasn't been over, and that was when they scored 0 points. Was it last week where they had that complete letdown? But I digress. I think they'll get back on track and start scoring some more points. Dallas defense does present some problems, but I think that, they'll be able to do something. Helv had to say something nice about the Eagles. All right, so say something nice about the Eagles. They're the best team in the NFC, like by far. Like they haven't had a hiccup really. They're good on all ends of the defense. Whether that's the run, the pass. They have good players on that defense, and they have good players on the offense when it comes to, playmakers in the wide receiver core, the tight ends, their running backs, their quarterback. I mean, they have a little bit of everything, and they're putting it all together. So, and their coach he's fired up too. He's super Philly. I've seen a lot of things where he's just like on the sideline yelling at the refs and cussing people out. Like he fits Philly.
Yeah. Something nice I'll say about the Eagles. The Vikings and Ravens are tied for second in the NFL in turnover margin at a +4. The Eagles are first at a +12. They've only turned the ball over twice the entire season. They have yet to lose a fumble. They're the only team in the NFL that hasn't lost a fumble this season.
That's pretty good.
And and they've thrown 2 interceptions. Meanwhile, they've got 14 takeaways. That's 9 interceptions and 5 fumbles. And I put a lot more stock in interceptions than I do in recovered fumbles because the ball just bounces funny. I think if you're intercepting passes, that's a much better indicator that your defense is playing well. 9 interceptions. The only team that's better than them in the NFL right now is Buffalo with 10. The Eagles have been lights out in terms of the turnover margin, and that's a big reason why they're still undefeated.
Also, we have to say something mean about Scotty. Yeah, we're just gonna replace Scotty with Spees. Maybe we'll get Silky in here too. We'll just he's done. Well, Scotty's out. He bails on us for golf.
Yeah, he invited neither of us to golf or Vegas.
Yeah,
I could have gone to Vegas just to go to Vegas. Or I could have gone to play golf because I enjoy playing golf even though I'm not good at it. It's great to be out there, enjoy the weather, the beautiful sights and sounds of the golf course. Oh, no. No. Let's have Speed stay here and ramble all night long about basketball. No.
That's right.
To hell with that guy.
Yeah. Get him out of here. He's replaced. He's done. Get him out. Hey, Spees, join Rush Sanity. By the way, that's what it's been on our show, Rush Sanity. And I think people in our chat is like, they poke the bear. Hey, Rush is the guy. Rush is the one. Cooper Rush is not the one.
Stop it.
You're poking this bear now. Not just Scotty and myself. You're poking the Spees bear right now. If he were to be replaced, where would he go? Good question. I don't know. He would just be floating out there in the...
Who's he? Who are we talking about?
Scotty.
Oh, if Scotty. Where would Scotty go? Probably back to Vegas to play more golf. Not invite us.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch.
And cashing in on, hitting all the casinos and everything else. Something mean about Scotty. Is that in every stream redeem, says Wags? Yeah, we could make that in every... Yeah, we could. If you don't have the over with this game, you're insane, says Reckoning. Yeah, I think the over feels good. Spees, you like the over. So
I like the over in this game. Yes, I do.
Betting's legal in Texas, right?
Is it? I don't think so.
Not quite.
But we can still do it.
There you go.
I mean, people still do
it. There's ways. You can figure things out, right?
Yeah. I don't remember. Listen, I'll just tell you, I talk about this on my show very openly. I'm 18 years sober now. I gave up alcohol in 2004. It was a bit of a problem for me. I know this about myself. I have a very addictive personality. I avoid gambling like the plague.
Don't get into it. Don't do it.
I can't do it. The only reason I can have fun, like playing craps and stuff at the casino, is because there's not a casino in Houston. And so I know that when I go to a casino, I'm only going to be there for a short period of time, and then I have to leave and go back to my normal life. So, but yeah, I have to avoid gambling like the plague, so I don't really know all the laws and rules in Texas, to be honest with you.
By the way, Diaco says congratulations. That's a big achievement. So congratulations on the sober aspect.
Thank you.
And that's huge. I heard your story before you left on your hiatus, and I was blown away. It was a most incredible story. It was just the way you were. But that's just a side note, guys. Like this, Spees is a great dude, and he's just
and really quickly, it's important for me to say this because when I mentioned that about sobriety, I don't share that I've been sober for 18 years so that people will pat me on the back and say, "Oh man, that's really great, good for you," and so on. Because the reason I do that is because hopefully somebody out there is listening and either has an issue or knows someone who does and can look at me and say, if this joker can figure out how to stay sober, then I can do it too. And really, sincerely, that's what it's all about, guys. If I can figure this shit out, you can as well. It's possible. It's doable. Whatever kind of issues you're trying to overcome, I'm living proof that it can happen. So stick with it, stay strong, and things have a way of working out.
Let's go. I love that, man. And like I said, I was tuned into that stream, and it was just like, it was amazing for me to hear that. So love that story. Spees is the best, says Diacola. There you go.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
But by the way, Help says gambling is illegal. Spees is a legend of a lad, says Dan.
Nice, Chris Dan, the man.
Legend of a lad. Let's go. Dan the man. By the way,
he's a non-wanker, as they say over on the other side of the pond.
gosh, we need to get Dan the man talking to our Aussies, APC and Steelers Nation. We got to get like the conversation like going back and forth with all of the
all
banter.
of the overseas speak. Yeah, exactly.
Oh my goodness, I would pay for that.
That'd be amazing.
Colts at Titans here. We have Colts at Titans. Titans 2.5-point favorites in this one at home against the Colts team that is probably, it started out the season as one of the most disappointing teams. They had that awful game against the Denver Broncos. Both teams looked like trash offensively, and it was just one of the worst games on Thursday Night Football. We've had like 2 or 3 Thursday Night Football games that have been terrible. We have another one tomorrow. However, the Titans have, tried to figure things out with Derrick Henry, but they're still kind of a work in progress too. Not exactly the potent offense that we saw last season, but when this game comes down the pipeline, and I'm looking at the Colts only, getting 2.5 as underdogs, I'm like, at Tennessee, part of me likes the Titans in this one.
I'll drink to that.
I mean, that's just me not believing in Matt Ryan, and I've had my own ideas of Matt Ryan. I've always have, even when he was like MVP and going to the Super Bowl and lost in the Super Bowl to the Patriots. I still have never been the guy that's like, he's going to get them over the hill to a Super Bowl. So for me, I got the Titans in this one at home. I'd like them to win this close one by a field goal. 42.5 is the over-under.
This is a tough one. My Texans are in the AFC South, so I get a good look at these teams pretty much on the regular. The Colts came into Houston and were getting blanked in Houston.
Yeah.
They were just getting thrown. It was amazing. I could not believe that they were getting killed like they were. And then, of course, the Texans did what the Texans do, which is blow a lead late, and they eventually ended up tying that game. I'm kind of shocked that this Titans defense has been as bad as it's been.
It's been rough.
It's been really rough. And their offense has been almost as bad. They have, from a yardage standpoint, they're putting up 278 yards per game. That's the second worst in the NFL. Only the Panthers have a lower number in terms of yards per game. Bruh. And that's because they're averaging 175 yards passing. In the NFL, 175 yards passing per game. That's an embarrassingly low number. And even with Derrick Henry, they're in the bottom half of the NFL, just barely rushing for 100 yards a game. I would, if I'm a gambler, I avoid this game like the plague.
Yeah.
Because both of these teams are so Jekyll and Hyde. You have no idea what you're going to get. I'm going to go with the Colts in this one because I think that they're starting to figure it out offensively. Matt Ryan had a huge game last week. And, I think they're starting to put things together. Are they getting either one of their running backs back? Do we know yet? Are they still going to be without Nyheim Hines and Jonathan Taylor?
I think Taylor comes back, which puts, because there was I was looking at my fantasy teams and they were like, Hines is available only because Taylor's coming back and potentially. Okay. But I don't know if he's 100% by any means.
Because I'm looking at right now on their injury report, it says Jonathan Taylor is questionable. And it also says Shaquille Leonard, formerly Darius Leonard, is questionable. If you get those two guys back, I definitely like the Colts in this game because Shaquille Leonard is one of the best defensive players in all of football. He's one of the best linebackers in all of football. And you add the leading rusher from a year ago into the mix against what's been a pretty bad Tennessee defense. And then you add Shaquille Leonard on your defense against what's been a pretty bad Tennessee offense. I'm taking the Colts plus 2.5 in this game.
Ooh, getting some value on the plus 2.5. I like that. So, and you see this division more than I do. So you might have convinced me to go to the other end. Because I love taking points. Don't get me wrong.
No, but I think especially if Taylor and Leonard are healthy. Again, I don't love this pick, but
it's a lean.
I would definitely be leaning towards the Colts plus 2.5. And the Titans have Fat Randy Bullock as their kicker, and you can always count on Fat Randy to choke down the stretch. So I give the edge to Indy in that regard.
And I
as well.
almost think if this number climbs to 3, you have to take it. I mean, because at that point, it's a push. You don't lose by a field goal. I think that the 2.5 is what's killer here, is because the last possession you can lose that last 3.
Exactly.
So that's the worry here. But if this goes to 3 or 3.5, which I don't think it will, but if it does, take those. I would jump on the Colts in a heartbeat.
I think if anything, the line goes in the opposite direction. If we find out that,
it goes,
especially if we find out that Taylor and Leonard are going to be healthy.
Next up, Chiefs at 49ers. The Chiefs end up dropping one to the Bills in a crazy game.
Hold on to your butts.
Hold on to your butts. That's right, Helf. It's that from the Jurassic Park where it's Samuel L. Jackson.
Sam Jackson. Yeah,
Hold
man, that's a classic.
Your butts. We have an interesting one here because the 49ers are like, honestly, I think one of the better rosters in the NFC. I had them before last week. I had them the second best team in the NFC behind the Philadelphia Eagles, arguably, just based off of just the talent on that roster. And they lost Trent Williams, and they were still winning games. But then last week, they kind of got exposed with some injuries and some different things. So that's what is kind of worrying me here. Chiefs are -3. They're favorites by 3 points in San Francisco going out there to the West Coast. So this is an interesting one. You have a best bet on this one. What do you like in this?
I love the Chiefs in this game. I think that San Francisco's defense got exposed last week in terms of what Atlanta was able to do against them. And listen, we talked about earlier about how nobody's stopping Mark Andrews. No, nobody's stopping Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce is just, I mean, it's crazy how good that guy is. I believe is Nick Bosa still. I think he's questionable. Trent Williams is questionable, like you mentioned. There's some injury issues. But look, this Chiefs offense is so good. They're just, I mean, they're fantastic. And again, nobody has an answer for Travis Kelce. Really, the only hiccup for the Chiefs, I think, in terms of their offense, because Buffalo's defense is the best in the NFL. So to put up 20 against Buffalo,
it's pretty good.
Oh, okay, you can live with that. The only other real hiccup that they had was the Week 3 loss that they had to the Colts, which didn't make any sense at all. That was one of those Jekyll and Hyde games for the Colts. But you look at the other numbers: 44 points against the Cardinals, 27 against the Chargers, 41 against the Bucks, 30 against the Raiders. I mean, nobody's stopping this offense. It's just, it's crazy to me. And given what that Niners defense did last week against a significantly worse Atlanta offense, I think the Chiefs go nuts in this one. I love the Chiefs -3 in this game. I think that's one of my picks of the week. Chiefs -3. I think that's a lock.
I like the Chiefs as well. I think they're the superior team. AFC teams are just, the quality of teams in the AFC is so much better than the quality of teams in the NFC. Just from a basic quarterback standpoint. I mean, you're taking the best quarterback in this game, Patrick Mahomes, over Jimmy Garoppolo, who was almost about to be traded in the offseason, and they didn't even know if they wanted him. So, is Jimmy G good? Has he gotten them there with Kyle Shanahan? And they've made deep runs into the playoffs. They beat the Packers, and they've made it in. Sure, they've done all those things, but I think the Chiefs are just a team that just gets better week by week based off of just what Mahomes can do on the field and spread the ball around. I think that's going to present a lot of issues for the San Francisco defense, and realistically, they're good against the Chiefs defense it seems like they struggle against the run, but they rank 6th in yards per play when it comes to, defending the run. So I think that there's some aspects of that they could slow down San Francisco and force Jimmy G to maybe throw the ball, which is kind of something that he's still kind of ramping up a little bit after, jumping on board 2 or 3 weeks ago. So we'll see. I like Kansas City if I'm leaning on this one as well. It's not one of my bets of the week, but if I'm going to make a bet, it's probably on Kansas City. I'm with you.
And YOLO Kush, yes, I said it. Lock. It's my lock of the year.
Lock
of the week.
of the week.
All right, that's what it is.
New Orleans or Arizona, says Diacola. And then also, I make a point every year to draft Kelsey in the second round in fantasy. Yeah, no, well, there's only like 2 or 3 legit tight ends that do what they do, right? And that's Kelsey and Andrews and maybe one other guy. I mean,
I reached for George Kittle this year. And took him early, and he's been disappointing up to this point. But we'll see. Maybe
that was my story last year with Kittle, and I stayed away from him this year. But I make a what else? It's the offense in the AFC that's crazy good. Yeah, absolutely. So Scotty makes these graphics, obviously. So he sees he's got Russell Wilson promoting that dangerous sandwich, but it's spicy. And so we have Jets at Broncos here. Broncos -2 in this spot. Over under 39.5. So there's not going to be a lot of points scored in this one. However, I think the biggest question for me in this one, which is why I didn't bet it, if I'm going to bet anything on this one, it's probably teasing up the Jets 6 points to 8. I don't like betting this game straight up with 2, only because the Broncos defense has proven that it's a very, very good. It's a top team. They only gave up in the first 6 games 6 touchdowns. That's pretty good. Defensively, that's one of the best in the league. You said it earlier, Speeds, top 3. The Jets offense is starting to get it together, which is, I think the Broncos have played scrappy games against good teams. All these games have been close.
Yeah.
They muck up the game defensively. I love our defensive coordinator, by the way. Don't get rid of him. If you make coaching changes, don't get rid of our defense. He is fantastic. He's creative, everything. But I think that this is a sloppy game. This is a close game. And this is why, I mean, Broncos could lose this game by like a field goal again. I can see the same thing happen like last week to the Chargers, and the same thing happening to the Colts. So I'm terrified of until I see anything offensively. I can't do anything with this. So I stay away from this as a Broncos fan. Broncos do have a home field advantage here in Denver. They've had the Boo Birds too, but is Russell Wilson healthy? He's got the hamstring thing that was supposedly serious, but now it's not as serious. Then you had the traps or whatever it was, his shoulder thing. He's had some issues. Part of me is like, if you're blaming all of these issues on injuries, he shouldn't be in the game. So get Rippin in there and try to see what he can do, because maybe he has some athleticism to throw the ball down the field more than 15 yards. So if I had a lean in this one, I'd take the Jets +2 straight up against the spread, but I would actually tease the Jets up, knowing that if the Broncos win, it's a bonus. So I just haven't seen it offensively from the Broncos yet.
Yeah, listen, you take away that opening night loss for the or that opening day loss for the Jets, where they only scored 9 points. Their last 5 games, they're 4-1, and they're averaging 26 points a game. And Breece Hall, all of a sudden, is looking like the rookie of the year. That kid has been absolutely tremendous. The Jets' offense has been one of the biggest surprises in the NFL. I mean, the only game that they dropped in that period of time was a game at home against the Bengals, where they were god awful that game. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that was the game. Let me look at the stats here. Yeah, where Joe Flacco was out there chucking it 52 times, and he threw a couple of interceptions in that game. And their leading rusher was Michael Carter, who had 39 yards. So it was just a god awful game. But these last few weeks, they smoked the Packers in Lambeau. I mean, they just killed the Packers in Lambeau. And the week before that, they slaughtered the Dolphins. Now, I'll give you the Dolphins. Everybody was hurt. They're down to their third string quarterback, what have you. But this Jets running game, that 1-2 punch of Breece Hall and Michael Carter, is as good of a running back tandem as there is. I mean, there's certainly some tandems that are slightly better, but that's near the top of the league in terms of a 1-2 punch between those two guys. Neither one is I think solid number 1 superstar type back. But I mean, they're both really, really solid. They can both catch the ball and make plays, after, runs after the catch and so on and so forth. I really like the Jets. Did I pick this as one of my picks of the week?
This is one of your picks of the week.
Yeah, listen, I don't know how anybody bets on Denver to put up any kind of points at all. And I get the fact that defensively Denver is pretty good, but this Jets offense has been clicking, man. They've got me sold at least to the tune of -2 against a bad Denver team. Again, I said it earlier in the show. I don't think it's going to take a whole lot to turn this Denver thing around. But right now, with the way the Jets are going, until they show me otherwise, last 3 games, 24, 40, and 27 points. That's a lot of points. I'm going to take the Jets +2 in this one. I like the Jets in this ball game. I think they've shown that they can put up points on just about anybody. Granted, this is going to be probably their biggest test of the season defensively against a really, really good Denver defense. But I'm going to go with the Jets here. I like the Jets +2.
And I honestly still kind of like the under in a weird way. The fact that regardless of who's playing quarterback for the Denver Broncos, I think it's going to be Russ. Russ will play. I don't like it, but he should probably be playing this week based off of what I've been hearing locally. So if that's the case, we're not going to be able to move the ball. I mean, Sauce Gardner's been playing well, and he's gotten a couple picks in the last 2 games that have sealed some
very
games.
well.
So,
yeah.
I mean, Sauce Gardner is a rookie coming in, and he's making an immediate impact. So, yeah, it's crazy. Back-to-back road games, says OG Kush. That's true for the Jets. Back-to-back, this could be a weird spot for them. Back-to-back road games, that does take a toll. You keep that in mind against the team that's like really good, home field advantage. I think this is going to come down to a field goal. And I just have a feeling we're going to be doing the same thing we did earlier on the show when we first started this, talking about the Chargers Broncos about this game. So we'll see. I hope I'm wrong. Steelers and Dolphins. This is one of my bets of the week. And this one is to do with Tua coming back. Tua, if you don't know, living under a rock, he had the back-to-back, within 4 days, 2 concussions. Ridiculous. We've already talked about that, so we're not going to dive into that. But he's back finally after missing a few games, and he is going to be leading this team against the Pittsburgh team that is kind of lost, even though they did have that bounce back week randomly against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which they have their own issues as well. But I like Dolphins in this one. I know Rec and Devil Doc, all you guys, all you Steelers fans, -7 after we beat Tampa with no secondary. Steelers +7. So y'all are still jumping on Steelers, jumping on that hype after what you saw last week. I think that this offense presents a lot of issues for the secondary that Tom Brady and there's just too many weapons on this offense. And this is in Miami. This is a night game. So, you don't have that home field advantage with the sun beating down on the sideline. Get that. That's totally fine. But Tua looked good throwing the ball to these top receivers over the course of those first 2 or 3 games. And there's no reason to think that he shouldn't be able to do the same against the Steelers defense, who is not as good. So if you're telling me to take a Dolphins team at home, taking 7 against the Steelers team that's maybe a little inflated off of a winning against the mediocre Tampa Bay team, I like Miami. So what do you think? 44.5 is the over-under in this one.
Yeah, listen, I like the emotional push that the Dolphins are gonna get from getting Tua back. Like you said, I mean, he was playing great, and that between Jalen Waddle and Kareem Hunt, I mean, come on, that's just an insanely good 1-2 punch. I agree with you on Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh's really bad. I think Kenny Pickett, it's gonna take him a while to get comfortable. Although I love that kid. I love the way he plays. He strikes me as just a tough kid. And I like what he's doing out there, but he's a rookie quarterback. It's gonna take him a while. 7's a big number, especially in a primetime game. So I don't know how confident I am about that. And, look, it's still, I get that the Steelers defense is not what it once was. In fact, they've given up a lot of yards this season. But they can still get after the quarterback. is again these injuries. These guys get injured, and I just don't even know. Sorry, hold on. I'm trying to pull up my numbers here to see what we're looking at injury wise, because I know that I mean, there's still some guys that are questionable for the Steelers. Obviously, TJ Watt. I mean, it's just 7's just a big number. That's what I'm getting. That's what I'm getting at. That's the only thing that scares me about this game. Because the Dolphins were off to such a good start, man. And that injury to Tua was just killer. I mean, I hated to see it because I really wanted to see what they could do. But the last 3 weeks, I mean, they're averaging 16 points a game. I mean, that's not great. But again, it's the Steelers. They're not exactly setting the world on fire either. So the only thing that scares me about this one is 7 seems like a big number to me. But I still like the Dolphins to win this game. But -7, I don't know.
Keep in mind, the Dolphins opened the year with 3 straight wins against potential playoff teams: New England, Baltimore, and Buffalo. So, yes. I mean, that was with Tua healthy. Then the 3 straight losses came when quarterback injuries came into play. So, that's kind of where I don't think the market is caught up to this line quite yet, especially you have the combination of the Tampa Bay win, and then you also have, Tua coming back based off of what he did early in the season against those good teams, Baltimore, Buffalo, New England. I just think this line should be a little bit less, or a little bit more, slightly more, for Miami, I should say.
I mean, don't you think that, to me, it seems like the odds makers are saying, what Tua are we going to get? Are we going to get the Tua that we saw in the first 3 weeks of the season where he was dropping, 7 touchdown passes or 6 touchdown passes against was it 6 or 7 that he had against the Ravens? Just that completely insane game that he had against Baltimore in week 2. Are we going to get that Tua? Or are we going to get a Tua that's a little gun shy? Are we going to get a Tua that's a little bit rusty after being out for a few weeks? That to me, that's the other thing that concerns me. Is he going to be sharp? Is he going to be? Are we going to see some rust? Are we going to see him being a little bit timid out there after taking those nasty hits? Or is he going to be the same guy that we saw at the beginning of the season? To me, it's too much of a coin toss. I don't know what Tua I'm getting on Sunday. I'll be anxious to see it. I'm thrilled that he's back and that he appears to be okay. But I want to see it on the field. I want to see him actually go out there and do it before I'm ready to say he's back to playing at the level he was. He's just going to waltz back in there and play like he was in the first 3 weeks of the season.
Yeah. And Steelers also averaging a league low 4.8 yards per play, which won't be enough, in my opinion, to keep up with the offense on the other side. So that's going to be a tough one too. But that's kind of the reason why I'm leaning Miami in this one. And they would, if they covered this spread 8 times in the last 10 home games, they would be covering a spread like this. So 3 weeks ago, I'd agree, Miami -7. We're down DeMarvin Leal because IR. By the way, even without TJ, we have the NFL sack leader and Highsmith. Yeah. So Cuban, we're going Pickett probably. So Pickett he's coming off the concussion protocol. So if he can play, if they have Trubisky in there, I love this even more. But that's where we're at with this one. So we'll see what happens, and we'll keep an eye on this one for sure. This is the last, I think, preview. Yep, last preview of the night. And then we're going to get into our best bets and wrap everything up here. So Seahawks at Chargers. Seahawks are the surprise team this year. Obviously, Geno Smith is a shocker. But this one is going to be an interesting one. The Chargers, for me and for Scotty, we see a lot of the AFC West. Him being a Chiefs fan, me being a Seahawks fan, or me being a Broncos fan. We see a lot of the Chargers, and we see a lot of some of the discrepancies that the Chargers typically melt down, in big games or at some point. Let Gino cook, says, yo, Matty Ice. What's up, Matty Ice? How we doing? But this is an interesting one, too. 51 is the over-under here. So they're saying this is going to be a nice high-scoring game from both ends, potentially. Because I don't see, the Seahawks give up a ton of points. Let's just put it like it is. But also Gino can put up. He's been more accurate. He's been more reliable. and they're coming into the Chargers in LA, which isn't exactly the biggest home field for them. I mean, Broncos come in, they're practically a home team. Most teams come in and they're practically home teams in LA. But I don't think this is necessarily a big home advantage. This is one of my bets of the week. Seahawks are just being able to put up points. I think there's some issues with the rush. I don't think they can defend the rush. The Chargers can as well. They were bottom of the league last year. They're bottom of the league this year in defending the run. And the Seahawks have been able to get the run going recently. So I like what between the run game and then what Geno's been able to do. I think this giving the Chargers or giving the Seahawks 6.5 points. I love it. I love it. So I'm going to take these points. I think that Seattle keeps this one within a touchdown, and maybe they don't win this game, but I think they keep it close.
Yeah, the only thing I don't love about this, and I agree with everything you said in terms of the the rushing defense of the Chargers and so on and so forth. Seahawks just lost Rashad Penny, their best back. Now, granted, they got the kid Kenneth Walker III.
He's been playing crazy.
Who had a great game last week. He stepped right in and did well. I agree. I think this one is going to be a shootout. And look, the Chargers, to me, I put them right up there with Denver as one of the most disappointing teams in the AFC so far this year. And it feels kind of awkward to say that about a 4-2 team. But they're not clicking. To me, they're not clicking. And maybe it was the fact that they just got annihilated by the Jaguars, who are not a very good team. They squeaked by against the Raiders
and Broncos,
and the Broncos and the Browns. They beat Cleveland 30-28. I mean, they just, it's been a mess. With the exception of Nathaniel Hackett, I don't get Brandon Staley. I don't get that guy. I watch what the Chargers do. I watch some of the decisions that they make in terms of like clock management, especially going for it on fourth down. Like, he has this knack for going for it on fourth down in his own territory, does Brandon Staley, and then turning the ball over on downs. Like, I don't know, man. There's something about that team that's just not clicking with me. I tend to, I don't love this line either. Again, I'm not a betting guy, so I'm with you in terms of SoFi not being a particularly great home field advantage for the Chargers. But look, they have won 3 in a row. Again, they're barely squeaking by. They're not looking particularly good. Something's not clicking, man. I don't know what it is. So yeah, I mean, if you were gonna Seattle with 6.5, giving Seattle 6.5 points, with the running game still being good and Geno Smith playing out of his mind. I mean, let's not forget that the Seahawks still have an extremely good wide receiver core. They still have DK Metcalf. They still have Tyler Lockett.
Yep.
They again, the rookie Kenneth Walker's been playing great out of the backfield. I mean, this is still a very potent offense. And again, the Chargers defense. You talk about disappointing. I thought the Chargers defense was going to be one of the best in the league. I mean, they were good last year. But then they go out and they add J.C. Jackson from New England. They add Khalil Mack, and it feels like they've taken a step backwards. I don't understand it. I don't understand what's going on in L.A. So I'm kind of with you, man. I would lean. I tend to kind of lean Seahawks plus 6.5 here, man.
Geno Smith, take a shot every time commentators on Sunday Night Football mention concussions, and then
exactly.
And then the bar doesn't have enough shots, says Cuban. Cause another type of brain damage, says casually. Seahawks always losing running backs. That's in the water. Brandon Staley coaches like it's Retro Bowl. Go for it every fourth down. Fuck special teams.
Exactly.
We don't even need special teams on this one. So there you go. That's what we have here for our top games of the week. Let's go into our best bets before we wrap everything up. And look at this. Spees coming in.
Look at that guy. How do you bet against that guy?
Now we have one. So we covered all the games that I have here. So I have Seattle plus 6.5 as my best bet. Also Baltimore minus 6.5, Miami minus 7, and Cincinnati, Atlanta over 47.5. You have KC. This is on behalf of Scotty. KC minus 2.5. So he would appreciate the Kansas City bet. New York Jets, which we covered, and then also
the Raiders over my Texans.
Raiders.
Listen,
let's talk about that one.
Terrible. The Texans are terrible. They're not very good. I know they finally won a game. I think the Raiders are severely underachieving. That whole AFC West, with the exception of Kansas City, has been a disaster. Particularly the Raiders, who were a playoff team a year ago. I think they get right this weekend against the Texans. I just don't see the Texans. Listen, the strength of the Texans is their defense. But that being said, you talk about Darren Waller, you talk about Devontae Adams. I just don't know that they have enough to stop this Raiders offense. I know the Raiders have been wildly inconsistent. But listen, they've put up at least 20 points in every game, and 20 points against the Texans is probably going to be enough to win you the ball game. I don't trust this Texans team enough. So I think the Raiders are, I think that's, I'll still take the Raiders minus 7 against the Texans.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. And you get that insider's info from straight from Houston on that one. So love it a lot. Raiders are ran by Josh McDaniel. That's why they're underachieving. Ask Chris about how bad he is. I know him quite well firsthand. Josh McDaniels isn't exactly, he's a great offensive coordinator, maybe not the best head coach. So there we go. And then you also had the under in the Seattle Chargers, 51.
Yeah, that's just, both of those teams are just too inconsistent for me. The Chargers, again, you never know what you're going to get with those clowns. I mean, they're just as likely to go out there and put 12 points on the board as they are to put 30. I don't get it with them. And I think Geno Smith has been playing a little bit out of his league a little bit. 51.5 is a really big number. I mean, that's I don't know. I don't trust both of those teams to come out. It could be a shootout, but I think one of them, probably Seattle, cools off pretty significantly, and that the under on that 51.5 is a good one.
Let's see. Do y'all see Jim Irsay's comments about Snyder and the dirt he allegedly has? Yeah, like Snyder's. I mean, sure, I think he does have some dirt, but I mean, I don't know if we'll ever hear about it or what that's going to look like, but there's a lot of things going on that we're going to wait for that story to develop a little more, because I'm sure there's going to be more that comes out. And everyone hates him. I mean, when Jerry Jones hates you, there's a lot of things you're doing wrong.
All right, hold on. I'm gonna take a picture of this so that I can see how I did on my picks of the week.
Yes.
And come back and apologize on Sunday night in case I screwed Scotty with
it just helps
4 really bad picks.
It helps me look better, or I'm gonna go 0-4 and you get all 4 of them right, and I just look that much worse. So either way, whatever happens. Keenan Allen still hurt. That's why, says Yo Matty Ice. That's true. Yeah, he's potentially coming back, but he's still questionable. Great co-host Spees, always good when you're here. This is your second time on the show, and we absolutely enjoy when you're here, man. So that's gonna bring us to the end of our show. Thank you guys so much for being a part of it. We're gonna roll these credits here, so thank you so much. And Reckoning says Human Juke is on. We'll raid Human Juke then. Let's do that. Human Juke is a guy that, by the way, Spees, has great music. He has some drinks and he's having a good time and he plays music and he has a voice of an angel.
What is this with the credits? I love this. What you got people cheering? Yeah,
all the things that happened. Yeah. We
I love that. How the shit did you do that? That's amazing. You're gonna have to show me this.
I'll show you how we do it.
We just shout them out. You actually put them up on the screen. That's awesome. I love this.
We used to shout them out, and then we used to take like 10 minutes, and we were like, all right, we got to find something better. So then we can talk and hang out while the credits are rolling, and we get you all the fun stuff happening. So
I love it.
Yeah. So that's gonna do it. No Scotty and no Code Yellows, huh? Hey, if you had an over on the Code Yellows, by the way, I'm kind of burning right now. So no Code Yellows, even though I'm definitely kind of. I'm gonna get off the
I'm
stream.
I'm a little hoppity here.
Yeah. That makes two of us because I'm probably in that direction too. So we're gonna get off this stream and raid pretty quickly because we got some code yellows after the stream. But I want to thank you, Spees, for joining in last minute.
Thank you, my friend.
This
Always a
was
pleasure.
a lot of fun, and we absolutely I've always looked up to your show when we first started streaming as the benchmark. Speaking of benchmark, can we give a shout out real quick? Put the link reckoning for Spees and the Benchmark Show. I need all of you guys to click this link and go hit that follow button if you have not already, because we need you guys to go check them out. They are live Thursdays for Thursday Night Football and Sundays all through the morning and afternoon game. Well, actually afternoon games, right?
Yeah, start at noon Central, just in time for kickoff of the afternoon, the first window of ball games. We're watching NFL Red Zone and talking all things football with you guys. So come hang out with us on Sunday for the early round of games, and then come back here and join your boys Chris and Scotty for the nightcap. It'll be a great Sunday.
A great Sunday. Yeah. And so guys, thank you so much for being a part of the stream. Thank you for all the guys that are scrolling through here and all of you guys that are participating in the chat. It means the world, and we can't do the show without you. So thank you so much. And Diacola just followed Spees. There you go. All right. Good stuff. That's what we want.
Thank you.
That's what we
you.
want. So we will be back here live Sunday night, as Spees mentioned, and we will be rating Human Juke here shortly. So go out, between now and Sunday. It's all downhill from here. Go enjoy the rest of your work week, your school week, whatever you got going, and be a good person. We always tell you, be a good person. It's free and it's easy. It's not hard to be a good person. Go do it. And then finally, go put the phone down and enjoy, just what's around you for a little bit. Enjoy and live in the moment for a minute, because realistically, you lose track of all the people around you and the leaves changing colors and all the things that are beautiful in the world. So go do that for a little bit between now and Sunday, and then pick up your phone and watch us on Sunday. So there you go.
Absolutely.
Rocky Top, you'll always be my home sweet home to me, says Reckoning. There you go. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us. Have a great night. We are going to raid Human Juke. Go give him some love. Make sure he put in some song requests for us, because I know he always crushes, and he is going to be an awesome end to your night. So now go take a piss. Yeah, we will. Code yellows in the chat. Spam them. Love you guys. Have a great night, and we will see you Sunday. Have a good one, guys.